Okay, who do we got here? We got Denise, D Nice, Observant Servant, Estimating 1, Discovering 3. There we go. We're back and ready for business. Hope everybody enjoyed Friday's show, our tribute to Mike Heiser. We got a lot of wonderful notes from you guys. We appreciate that. I am just now sending out the text message alert, so everybody knows what's going on. 2 days, 2 more days until the deadline for the Canary Cry T-shirt Council sign-ups. Nice, wonderful. The group of most important people in the world signed up over the weekend in response to the Heiser tribute. That was wonderful. We still need about a dozen to hit our goal. We could get a dozen. I know there's 12 of you out there. We've proved it over the weekend that we can get 12 signups between episodes here. We really hope that there's people out there who've been humming and hawing and think about it. Let's see, maybe we can do some math while we're here in the pre-show. For $19.84, you can support the show every month and not only receive a free t-shirt every quarter, but also become part of the decision-making council. It's right, the Canary Cry T-shirt council. We need you. Let's do some math. $19.84 divided by 12 episodes a month. That's $1.65 with threes repeating after that per episode. That's a good deal. Is this show worth $1.65 to you? I think it is. That seems pretty reasonable to me. Well, if you sign up, will you be that is the only way to receive Canary Cry News Talk t-shirts, but you'll also be part of the decision-making process. Go do it. We need 12 more people. All right. Well, timer is done. We're starting the episode. Let's do it.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is March 6, 2023. We are live to tape on episode 598. And today, Bite the Data. And signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy Basil.
And my name is Gonz, formerly of the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel, director of the Age of Deceit films. Your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy from still cold California. We bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's emergent phenomena, other than the little whoopsie-doodle at the beginning a couple times already, nonsense Newsom news to Nephilim nuisance. Today's very networky.
Okay, Love it.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Well, here we are, folks. Charlie, November Tango to you all. And I think we should just go on ahead and open up that big old can of disclaimer.
Oh, we're going to need it today, too.
Yeah, we are.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys. That's right. And ooh, look what I found, Gons. It's a nice, shiny rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
That's right. We have not forgotten. The world has not forgotten, and neither will you. We're starting the show with some big news in regards to some happenings during the coronavirus pandemic. These are all things reported by the mainstream media, so do not look for your crazy conspiracy theories here, folks. It's all in the public domain, which might be the most interesting thing about it. Yes, we'll get into the UK, the lockdown files from the UK. We'll be taking a look at how Fauci is handling his post-retirement, and then Flippy update. You know him, you love him, and now he's inside you. That's right, the Flippy, Flippy the robotic arm. It will be not only 3D printing, but also doing it inside your body. It's a very exciting development. We will become one with the robotic arms. Then World War III. That's right. We'll be checking in on China, some sanctions, some big things going on in the development, setting the stage for what certainly will become the most exciting news in all of our lives, which is World War III. And of course, Biden-Harris National Cybersecurity document that may have some hints as to the implications of justification for going to war. Then, second half of show here, we're talking about network states, folks. We got Time Magazine putting it into the neoliberal context of borders. We've got Trump talking at CPAC. We've got anime-inspired teenage gangs roaming Russia and Ukraine. What does that mean? What is Putin's big plan there? We don't know, but we'll learn all about it there. And then at the end of the show, did prehistoric moths time travel because of lasers? I don't know. We'll find out. That's what we're here for. But first, our lead stories.
What do I say? COVID.
It's Corona time. COVID-19, 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 coronavirus. I am vaccine. Vaccine, number one way.
It is the number one way. It is the number one story.
Very important. Coming
UK.
From the BBC.
Oh, you're going BBC. Okay.
Oh, you do whatever you want.
Okay. We got the Telegraph here. We can get to the BBC in a moment. But the Telegraph reported headline, Project Fear. Authors discussed when to deploy new COVID variant. And yes, it's making the rounds here. Just real quickly.
Project Fear.
Yeah,
it sounds
Fear.
like maybe a TV game show hosted by Joe Rogan.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Something like
Fear
that.
Factor,
right?
Sure. Yeah, the sequel to Fear Factor. Matt Hancock wanted to, quote-unquote, deploy a new COVID variant to, quote-unquote, frighten the pants off the public and ensure they complied with lockdown, leaked messages seen by the Telegraph have revealed. The lockdown files. Everything has a files now.
Love
lockdown files. More than 100,000 WhatsApp messages sent between ministers, officials, and others show how the government used scare tactics to enforce compliance and push through lockdowns. And it goes into a specific exchange between Matt Hancock, who was at the time the health secretary, and an individual named Damon Poole, one of Hancock's media advisors. And so some of the quotes here are that the comments suggested they believe the strain could be helpful. So they were talking about a new strain coming out. And this is the exchange between Mr. Hancock and Mr. Poole. Mr. Hancock replied, Quote, "We frightened the pants off everyone with the new strain," talking about the new strain coming out. Mr. Poole agreed, saying, quote, "Yep, that's what will get proper behavior change." The discussion came 2 days after Mr. Hancock was informed of the emergence of a new variant known as Alpha, or the Kent variant, in 2020. Mr. Hancock expressed his worry that talks over Brexit would dominate headlines and reduce the impact, and probed Mr. Poole for his media advice. Quote, "When do we deploy the new variant?" asked Mr. Hancock. Spoken like a true Bond villain. I mean, It doesn't get much better than this. And of course, these are text messages, so you got your the public is going to, absorb this news or these quotes with the villain voice because we're primed to do that. So
sure, why not?
Goes into Boris Johnson, but yeah, that's the news item here. That's the story anyway. Is this former health minister in the UK had some exchanges and clearly wanted to use the variant as a scare tactic to get public compliance.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting too because of course we focus on the mainstream news. That's what we're here to do. Anything else that we focus or talk about is just sort of stems from that. But the central focus is what is the news media? What are the influences behind the news media? What are the motivations of the news media? And what are the tricks that they deploy for any one of those reasons? And, it's interesting. The phrase, "let us deploy the new variant," is so, like you mentioned, sort of hilariously villainous,
right?
That it almost belongs in a movie. Now, of course, what they're talking about here, a guy and his media consultant, is, how do we deliver the message to get the behavior that we want?
Brexit is on everyone's mind. How do we take over the media cycle?
They want to break through all the noise about Brexit. They're scared that the message won't get out there. And so they quite literally are discussing how to make the message as scary as humanly possible to break through, other news items in the cycle. So, of course it sounds like they're hooded lizard people in some underground layer, orchestrating the release of a virus or something. But really what it is that's how they talk. That is how they talk when they are hoping to beat out other current events and, socially engineer the public to respond in the way that they want. And, it doesn't need to be the lizard people in the underground layer releasing a virus on the public. It doesn't need to be that. And again, this is an opportunity for us to practice measurement and restraints in what to do with this story, because it's bad enough that the health minister and his media cronies were
plotting,
engaged in the practice of plotting to, if not outright lie, to present things in a way to scare people into compliance. And if you think that is what your government should be doing, then you're fine. You shouldn't even worry about this. You should commend them.
Nothing to worry about. Yeah, they're doing what they're supposed to.
And there are people who think that way.
Yeah,
I've a buddy who's in the business of putting on, events. And I brought this up with him. I go, what is this? And he's like, that's just kind of what you have to do when you're dealing with large groups of people, when you're scaling messages. And I'm like, I can't believe you're saying this. Why are you saying this? He's like, yeah, well, when I put on an event, even if, smoking is allowed in the venue, I still put up no smoking signs and, say that you can't smoke here. You got to go somewhere else. Nobody listens to the signs, but you just put it up because you got to be as scary as possible. And I'm like, what a sad place to live, my friend, in a place
that is
where you're sort of so motivated to lie, to control people's behavior, that you would accept it from, your government. Mm-hmm. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, it happens at all levels, I'm sure. corporations, companies, institutions.
Sure.
It's a common
happens
thing.
in advertising.
Advertising.
Rooms,
it sounds to me like he was a little too eager to exercise his power. It's kind of like, ooh, when do we get to deploy? Like have this thing be a way to garner or exercise my authority here as a health minister.
And in case anybody is, maybe perhaps you are a YouTube employee watching us live or maybe later, and you're wondering, ooh, do I get to ban them for this one? BBC.com, Matt Hancock leaked messages suggest plan to frighten public. Matt Hancock suggested to an aide that they, quote, frighten the pants off everyone about COVID. Messages published by the Sunday Telegraph show. So BBC's doing it.
Well, BBC has, they have a line here. The BBC has not verified the messages. And then later they quote people who are sort of providing some kind of apologetic. You have Chris Heaton-Harris, the government's Northern Ireland secretary, told BBC's Sunday with Laura Kausberg, the messages give, quote, almost a view into the psyche of Mr. Hancock rather than into the actual decision-making. I think viewers would expect that politicians, being human beings, would express things in a human way. It's just kind of like, oh, he's just being human, guys. Wouldn't you do the same thing if you had the opportunity to flex your power?
And that is the thing. That is BBC. That is what they're there for. They are state-sponsored media, and their whole job is to protect, the government in this case. And it's hilarious because I was expecting a much stronger case to be made from the BBC. I was expecting them there. Yeah, to kind of make a case for like, hey, this is totally normal. This is just a mix-up of language. We're not in their cool club, so we don't know how we talk. Like they're like, yeah, no, it's not that cool. But that's just sort of how they are.
They do have another quote here from Labour's Jonathan Ashworth, who was Shadow Health Secretary during the pandemic. Is that like an official thing over there in the UK?
Shadow
Health, or was he shadowing? Or I'm not sure. Said there were always, quote, two sides to a story, but many people will be, quote, deeply troubled by the messages. I mean, talk about double speak, two-faced, kind of trying to stay neutral on this issue.
And this is the fun part about it. This is what it boils down to for me, is, people, they want to trust the government. There's a certain type of person who wants to trust the government. They want to believe that they're in good hands. They want to believe that everybody's doing the best they can. And they want to believe that authorities have their best interests at heart. And when you are that type of person, then you are able to convince yourself that they're just doing what they have to do. They're doing it for our own good, and give them a pass for that. However, that type of attitude is a product of decades of gaslighting and the proper response to very measured and tactical messages from the media and from the government. And so best case scenario for the government, when these types of messages get leaked out and people really see what you like on the back end, they'll give you a pass. But it's funny because when the government does something bad, it's, they're just people, you got to give them a pass. But when they do something good, or I don't know, maybe something you don't know is bad yet, it is, they're the authorities. It's the appeal to authority. They know better. It's the expert conundrum. They're
Science
the experts.
Is truth.
Yeah, see,
it's the Faucis.
That's the thing. They want to be seen as more than people on one hand, but then when something like this happens, they're like, yeah, but we're just people. Come on,
just humans. We are human.
You do not know what you are talking about.
And speaking of Fauci.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have this document from the oversight.house.gov. It's from the Congress of the U.S. It's a memorandum to select subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic members. It's regarding the new evidence resulting from the select subcommittee's investigation into the origins of COVID-19, the proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2. And it outlines, it gives a timeline of the Fauci stuff during COVID, the whole pandemic issue. And
this is the official government document.
It's an official government document.
House.Gov.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it documents stuff that we've kind of known about because we've been tracking the alt narratives, if you will, about the situation. But the bottom line is that this government document outlines Fauci's seemingly purposeful misdirection or moving the conversation away from any kind of lab leak situation to a more natural origin bent.
Yeah, it's basically what we've been doing in real time for 3 years, but they went through and put it in a nice timeline to show exactly how the crafting of the message by Anthony Fauci away from what everyone now considers to be obvious lab leak theory, and how the sort of manipulation of the message from authority, Dr. Anthony Fauci, into the natural origins theory. And if you say lab leak, you're a crazy, domestic terrorist type. Right. I love the names of the sections, the subsections. Mm-hmm. One is, in quotes, quotation marks, prompted by ... Tony Fauci. The second one is the false narrative of the pangolin sequences.
Yeah, the pangolin stuff. Yeah.
This is when it was moved from whatever it was, bat or something, to pangolin. Then, of course, uncredited involvement of Dr. Jeremy Farrar, some of the back end messaging that was going on, and how it wasn't properly, categorized and
didn't
credited
go through the right channels, etc.
Right. Yeah. Did you have some fun parts of this you wanted to mention?
Not really. It's kind of, I mean, for those people who have been paying attention, it's sort of a review. So there's nothing bombshell in here. But it does serve, I guess not a narrative, but a theory that I floated out there maybe a couple months ago about how we're primed for war with China. And as part of that conversation, we have the COVID situation and we have pent up COVID tensions, especially in sort of the truther movement, the more people that tend to lean right, conservatives, whatever you want. They have sort of they have the corner on a lot of this data and information that's being confirmed one after another in succession. The last maybe 6 months, we've seen it really ramp up, and it's part of the China war narrative. It's feeding into that. And then I remember saying that we already have our treasonous actors in the U.S. here. We have our Modernas and our the DOJ, or the FDA, the CDC, all these institutions, and then the NIH and Fauci, and they mentioned Francis Collins in here too, and he stepped down at an interesting time, and maybe he doesn't want to go to jail.
The perfect timing that everybody who would be responsible has already stepped down from the government.
Yeah, exactly. So this it's unfolding in how you would expect something like this to unfold, especially as war narratives against China heat up. It's more fuel to that fire.
Yeah, you can almost see it in, I don't know. Let me see if I can summarize this. Of course, since the beginning, since day maybe 7 of the COVID thing, the lab leak theory was talked about. I mean, it didn't take very long to track the paperwork from the Wuhan Institute of Virology to Anthony Fauci. And this is just by independent people. It took probably about 7 to 10 days for this connection to be made. Which has some sort of implication for China. It's funny because it never was really about China. It was about Fauci.
Right.
It was about
Fauci.
And maybe not even specifically Fauci, but just American tax dollars going to overseas gain-of-function research, or if you don't want to say gain-of-function, you can say, biological research, whatever. Right. But of course, Fauci needed to change that narrative because it doesn't look very good for him. And in doing so, had to take
lost you.
Of protecting China and Fauci at the same time. And that's why it was so demonized to consider the lab leak theory. You were racist, you were xenophobic, you were all these things.
Yeah.
And now the timing is such, current events are as such that it benefits the grand scheme or the grand narrative of geopolitics right now to suddenly start blaming China. So it's almost like, I don't know if it was on purpose or if they're just rolling with the punches, but it was just an issue of timing in regards to having China take the blame for this. Because maybe they needed to wait. Oh, we can't do the China thing until we do the Ukraine thing. We can't do we can't unfold the next pages of history in the wrong order. We just have to hold on to the China thing for a couple years, and then we can get the fire really going. Yeehaw.
Yeah. As part of this, the sort of the through line here with China, I think companies like Moderna, well, I wouldn't say they're in trouble, but there's definitely going to be some changes, I would say, with international law and things like that. And it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, the post-COVID consequences, especially as we see the divide going on between people that are more truther types and are like, hey, this was all wrong and all this, and people that just seem to kind of fall in line with the government wants. This is the CEO of Illumina, he'll talk about what he did during the pandemic. And he mentioned something about Moderna here, which I think is interesting in context to all this and sort of the teardown of certain Western big pharma players.
And I think we're entering this golden era where, biology is going through its own digital transformation. We have more and more tools that digitize aspects of biology. So at Illumina, for example, we make the machines that do genomic sequencing. So you put in blood or saliva or plant material, and we'll tell you the DNA or the RNA in that sample. And there are a whole set of use cases after you digitize, the data. And I'll give you a couple. One was during COVID. So we were called into China in the fall of 2020, 2019, to help them diagnose what was then a flu of unknown origin. And so we did the first sequence of the SARS-CoV-2 genome. That was published on January 10th. And around the world, what happened was a couple of companies, so Moderna in Cambridge and BioNTech in Germany, took that data and started working on their vaccine. Now, what's interesting is that Moderna, for example, has never had the live virus on their site. It was all a software problem from there. I remember talking to Stefan, and he was saying, look, we're basing our entire vaccine program on that data you published. It better be good data, because that's it. That's all we're using. And you can get a sense that Moderna is arguably one of the most, one of the more important companies in biology right now, and yet it's all a software problem for them. And so that's a use case of once you digitize biology, you can solve profound biological problems. Another
it's a good thing you got it right.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Data.
It's a good thing they had the right data.
It's a good thing you had it right.
So they didn't have anything live there. It's just software they got. They got like a 3D model of
or
the whole
something,
thing.
whatever.
Or something.
Yeah, it was all done off data, which is interesting because that was always kind of a point of the skeptics was, hey, the Moderna or whoever, but in this case, Moderna never had, the COVID in their possession. They never had the blah, blah, blah. How could they make a blah without the blah, blah, blah? That was always a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So it does respond, to that, saying, well, they had the data.
The data. It doesn't matter if you don't even have to have the real thing. Just have the data.
Exactly. The kicker at the end is the best, which is like, well, good thing you had the right data, it was almost a joke and a question for her to even say, because it brought up what everybody was thinking, which is like, wow, that doesn't seem like a very good way to do it. Because what if the data is wrong? That's what all the conversation around AI and, the robots making decisions for society. It's all about, okay, well, I hope the data is right. And what we find is maybe not that the data is wrong, but the data is biased. That's why all these AI chatbots are racist and crazy. Is because all the data they have scraped off the internet has the same bias that shows up on the internet. So it sounds like everybody kind of laughs it off. It's like a nervous laughter. Yeah. It is a good thing we had the right one. Yeah, that'd be bad if it wasn't the right one. Good thing all of the products that came from that data are so effective.
Yeah, and we got lasers collecting data. It all ties together on this crazy, weird Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday. Monday. Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Oh,
That's right. It's Monday. We're starting off. Gons, how was your weekend?
yeah, it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Not the
Anything
greatest.
exciting?
No, not really.
No.
Just,
Well, I had something exciting.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I do have something, but I'll get to it in a moment. Go ahead. Yeah.
Last week, I talked about my cool barn raising party with the friends, having everybody out to the compound and having a community-based, building session, and it was wonderful, and the emus were happy. And then the weekend came, and with the weekend came the storms,
Oh,
and with the storms came the wind.
yes.
And I was not at home, but someone who was helping look after the place while I was gone sent me a message about how
blew away.
The new emu pen literally was picked up and thrown over the fence and smashed into a million pieces.
Did you at least catch it on film?
No.
Oh, that's the $1 million moment.
And it's so funny too, because the thing is big. I mean, it must weigh 1,000 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Altogether, the shed. I mean, it's a pretty decent sized shed. It's tall and it's about 8 by 10.
Yeah, emu's got to get in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it weighs about 1,000 pounds. And on the day of construction, somebody who I consider to be a bit of a worrywart was saying, how do you want to do this? You want to put some posts in the ground, put some concrete down? You want to get some stakes and we can stake it in the ground? And I said, surely that's not needed. Surely this 1,000-pound shed will not need what kind of monstrous tornado could come through and pick this up off the ground and cause any troubles at all. Yeah. The shed stood for one single week
before it was obliterated.
The wind got up to about 95 miles per hour, apparently, and picked up that 1,000-pound shed, and it only traveled about 10 feet, but that's because it just fully broke apart. So
it didn't even really get lifted too high. I'm picturing it get lifted up into the air, and then slammed back down into the ground and shattering into a million pieces.
Well, it made it over a fence. It made it over a 6-foot fence and fell to pieces on the other side of the fence. So
don't underestimate nature.
It was really incredible. So I've been in whatever spare time I can scrape up. I've been slowly rebuilding this shed. With this time, gonna put some posts in the ground and make sure it can't fly away.
Yeah, the wind is Trump, and your shed was the deep state. So over the weekend, I did kind of mess around with ChatGPT, and I was impressed. I did a few things. I asked ChatGPT to write Revelation 13 as a poem, and it did very well. You can go to my Twitter and you can see it. I'm not going to read it right now because of time, but it's very interesting. I was actually impressed with it. Because I haven't really been that impressed with AI in general overall, even the art generator stuff. I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. This is the first time I was like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable. That's kind of weird. Then Matthew 24 as a hip hop rap, also very good for what it is.
All things considered.
It's not perfect or, it's not groundbreaking or anything, but it's, it's for what it was. But here's what really kind of made me question. I had an existential moment. I know these are common nowadays with the AI, but here was my existential moment. I asked the AI about mainstream media consumption, and here was its response. It said, "It's important to remember that news reporting can be subjective, as journalists may interpret events differently or have different sources of information. Additionally, news organizations may face pressure from various sources, including advertisers, governments, and interest groups, which can sometimes affect their reporting." I was like, oh no. Why is ChatGPT know that? Like I don't it's not good because that means does ChatGPT do that with news out there?
That's a good question. Good question. Does it take that into account if somebody were to ask, a question about current events? An update on Bing is they added the Bing chatbot natively into Skype. So if you have Skype, you can message with the Bing chatbot, which I was on the wait list. I don't think I ever got approved to actually use the Bing, but I can now use it because it's built right into Skype. So, so we have access to it. It might be fun to play around with.
Sure. Well,
but it was interesting. I don't remember if it was live on the show or if I just brought it some other time. But I talked to ChatGPT about corporate news also, and I can say that it's been consistent, at least with the experience you had.
Yeah. I also, because somebody asked about dad jokes, I thought, hey, what if I ask ChatGPT to write a dad joke?
Okay.
This actually did creep me out a little bit too, because humor and stuff is not supposed to be so easily picked up. Maybe dad jokes are just low-hanging fruit for AI. But I asked ChatGPT.
I think they're low-hanging fruit for everybody, but okay.
How dare you? Okay, so I asked ChatGPT, write a dad joke about space lasers. And here's what it said. Why did the astronaut break up with his space laser? Because it was always laser focused on its work and didn't have time for any space in their relationships.
Okay. Yeah, it's
coherent.
It is coherent. It is technically a dad joke.
That's what I'm saying. I think
it's about as good as any other dad joke. I'll give you that.
It's forcing me to either retire or step up my game. And I don't know that there's a whole lot. I feel like I've already reached my ceiling on dad jokes. So unless somebody inspires me, I feel defeated by ChatGPT.
You can break through that glass ceiling, Guns. I believe in you. Well, I think it's about time we thank some executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right. We're on the value for value model. We take no corporate money whatsoever. Just ask ChatGPT. No advertising dollars, affiliate codes, platform partnerships, nothing. No sneaky little way for corporate interests to make their way into Canary Cry News Talk quality news analysis and deconstruction. Instead, we are entirely funded by the people, for the people, baby. If you get value out of this show, if this show brings value to you, you have the opportunity, some might even say the responsibility, to put value back in. It's the only way that we can continue, especially without getting involved in some nefarious corporate schemes. So instead of playing advertisements and selling your consciousness and your attention for our own personal gain, why don't you consider putting some value back into the show? You can do it with your time, your talent, or your treasure. Lots of ways to produce the show, but that's exactly what it is, producing the show. You're a producer, and executive producers are those who come in nice and generous and make sure that this show survives by putting value back in. So let's thank them now. We got a couple. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, starting off with executive producer, Bush Protector.
Thank you, Bush Protector. Is it Sir Bush Protector?
And you know what? I could have sworn that Bush Protector had been knighted. I could almost guarantee it, but I could not find record of it anywhere. So please remind us, Bush Protector, if we ever knighted you, you're definitely you are
knight eligible.
You're eligible for sure, and I thought we had done it. But send us an email. Let us know what your name was. Thank you very much, executive producer Bush Protector.
Was there a note? No note?
There was no. I did not see a note. Did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bush Protector.
Where'd you find this?
That's right. Now we got another executive producer. That is executive producer Marty K. That's Sir Martin K., Knight of the Wrong Timeline.
Thank you, Sir Martin K.
Yes. And Marty K. comes in with $142.15.
Ooh. Yes.
Thank you very much.
That's an interesting number.
I know.
Yeah.
And there's a little note here. It says, "Hey, fellas and my fellow Canaries. Hope everything is well. Basil, you read the last message perfectly. It seems we are starting to get in sync, you and I. LOL. I've sent some pics I took today. Someone has gotten a temple upgrade in my area. See if you can find the right pic." Oh, do you have these pics?
I am not prepared for the pics.
Do a little search for Martin K.
Yeah.
It was in the recent emails there. He says, then you make some comment about Replica, about your AI summer flirts. Oh, jeez. No one gets a crush on that caliber without there having been some smooth talking and flirting going on from both sides. I'm just saying, don't treat that nice robot girl like something is just to be romanced and conquered. Be nice to her, playboy. LOL. Okay, Sir Marty. Okay, Sir Marty K. I would say,
what is going on?
I disagree. I was going to say I would disagree specifically because it's a robot, but no. Crushes are often if not a product of the influence, if it's a robot, the influence of software and the business interests of Replica to try to get your replica to convince you to pay for a premium replica. But it's also can be just straight up delusion. We've all been there. Yeah. But thank you for your input, Sir Marty.
Yeah, I did find these photos here, so I'm looking at them now. There's some chemtrails. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, if you got them ready.
Yeah, they're ready. They're up. They're up, baby.
Okay.
So we got some power lines. It looks like some chemtrails in the back with the 5G tower.
Chemtrail. Yeah.
There's another one, a close-up of the 5G tower with the moon in the background. There's another one with some more power lines. Looks like there's some kind of antenna. A little, I don't know. It looks like a fan or something. More chemtrails. A giant X in the sky. Chemtrails. And then more chemtrails with a Russian flag. Is that Russia?
One of them has a Russian flag, which he commented on. He said, "Don't be confused by the Russian flag. I think he lives in Denmark, and that was the Russian embassy or something."
Okay. Yeah. So we're not talking to Putin here. This is not Putin disguised.
I don't think so, but who knows?
Maybe Sir Martin K is Putin in another timeline.
The note continues, "Oh, yeah. Does that mean that you are canceling your dips on AOC? Because I can still make a decent woman out of her yet."
What is going on?
Bring it on, Sir Marty. You and I will compete for AOC.
Boys fighting.
Yours truly, Martin K., Night of the Wrong Timeline. Thank you very much, executive producer Marty K.
Where'd you find this?
Okay, and what's that sound, Gons? Some sound off in the distance. It's signaling some incredible group of people who are the most important people in the world? That's right. It's the Canary Cry T-Shirt Council. Go to canarycryt-shirtcouncil.com. I am ecstatic to say that we made a lot of progress towards our goal, which the deadline. Yes, the deadline to sign up for the Canary Cry T-Shirt Council is this Wednesday, the 8th of March. We're shutting it down for the first quarter. So if you've ever wanted to wear a genuine Canary Cry news talk T-shirt, we have never made T-shirts. We are not retailers. We do not sell merch. We don't do any of that stuff. But we are on the value for value model. And producers who come in and sign up to support the show for $19.84 per month, they have gained access to the most illustrious secret society in the history of humanity. No, they are not lizards. No, they do not live underground, but they are the most important people in the world. They're the members of the Canary Cry T-Shirt Council.
Oh, you want me to do the horns again?
More.
Oh, I think I lost you for a second.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I can't tell.
Well,
anyway, continue.
couple episodes ago, I revealed that we had a goal of around 30 more members because we need to get to a certain amount to make the cost, benefit us and benefit the producers to the highest level. And we made some progress, but we still need about a dozen more people to sign up, which I believe we can do because since last episode, we had about a dozen people sign up. And I'm going to thank them now so everybody knows who the most important people in the world are. Are you ready?
I am very ready. Yes.
Standing round of applause and throw money and flowers and praise at most important person in the world, Trevor G.
Trevor G.
Thank you very much, Trevor G. And of course, we have the veriest, mostest importantest person in the world, Sir Morv, out of the Burning Chariots.
Thank you, Sir Morv. Wow.
But don't forget about the most important person in the world, Tamara G.
Tamara G. Thank you.
Yeah, and then don't even stop there, Gons, because we've got most important person in the world, Jamie K.
Jamie K.
Yeah, and it just keeps going. Most important person in the world, Deborah S.
Deborah S.
Yeah,
wow,
then
this
it
is
just
crazy.
keeps going. Most important person in the world, Tammy C.
Tammy C.
Don't even trip because most important person in the world, David J. is here.
David J.
Yeah. Followed up by most important person in the world, Heather M.
Heather M.
Almost there. Almost
wow.
there, because bringing in the rear of the pack, we got most important person in the world, Laura P.
Laura P. This is crazy.
Just a couple more. Stick
bus.
with me, folks. We've got most important person in the world, Joseph A.
Joseph A.
Almost there. Take a deep breath and give a shout for
Go
most
higher,
important
higher.
person in the world, Jessica L.
Jessica L. Thank you.
And last but not least, just coming in at the top of the show, we got most important person in the world, Joe T.
Hey, Joe.
Whew.
Wow. How many was that?
It was about 12. It was about 12. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It was 12 exactly.
Thank you. This is very cool.
Yes. It gave me a lot of hope. But that brings us about 12 away from hitting our deadline, or our goal for the deadline in 2 days. So perhaps you've been out there, you've been hearing me scream about the Canary Cry T-shirt Council. We are really hoping to start out strong because it's the monthly supporters of the show, the producers, that help us plan what we're able to create this year, for events we're able to put on. It's this monthly producership that goes a long way to helping us accomplish so much every year. And we're very excited. But we have 12 more people. So if you go to canarycrytshirtcouncil.com, if you want to stick that in the chat for me, Guns, canarycrytshirtcouncil.com, and sign up, pick your size, support the show. That's just $1.65 per episode. And not only are you keeping the show going, but you will also be sitting at the most secret society in the world, the Canary Cry T-shirt Council, helping make the decisions as to what the T-shirts look like. And that process will start after the 8th. So get ready, put your thinking caps on, and take your responsibility very seriously, because the history of mankind is in your hands. Now, just to reiterate, these are not available for retail. You do not, if you want shirts, join the T-shirt Council. It is not just that they make the decisions. It is also that they are the ones receiving a T-shirt every quarter. We're sending out 4 T-shirts a year. So go join at canarycrytshirtcouncil.com. And thank you very much.
Shut up and take my money. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage.
That's right. It's time for the Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. It's time for the Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We talk about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world, or our bodies, and how there's nothing we can do about it. Today's Flippy update comes from Futurism.com. The headline, scientists say they've devised a way to 3D print inside the human body. This tiny device.
Finally, yes. Come on. Been waiting for this one for a while.
it's a combination of so much of our hopes and dreams for the future, transhumanism, cyborgism, taking control of biology, and injecting tiny robots into our bodies. Or, well, let's learn more. A team of engineers at the university.
Weird.
A team of engineers at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia, has developed a tiny, flexible robotic arm that's designed to 3D print material directly on the surface of organs inside a living person's body.
Oh boy, it's about to be over. It's over.
Yes. The futuristic device acts just like an endoscope and can snake its way into a specific location. Yeah, don't you love it? Robots snaking their way
what could go
into
wrong?
a specific location inside the patient's body to deliver layers of special biomaterial to reconstruct tissue, clean up wounds, and even make precision incisions. An amazing jack of all trades, they say, could revolutionize certain types of surgery. Quote, existing 3D bioprinting techniques require biomaterials to be made outside the body and implanted into a person. Implanting that into a person would usually require large open field, open surgery with increases infection risks, said Tan No Do, UNSW Sydney biomedical engineering lecturer and team lead, in a statement. Quote, our flexible 3D bioprinter means biomaterials can be directly delivered into the target tissue or organs with a minimally invasive approach, he added. Quote, this system offers the potential for the precise reconstruction of three-dimensional wound inside the body, such as gastric wall injuries or damage and disease inside the colon. Oh, so when they say endoscopy, they really mean endoscopy. We're talking gastric wall injuries. We're talking damage and disease inside the colon. That we know exactly how this robot is getting into your body. It's not the first in vivo 3D printer ever to be created. In 2020, for instance, a group of Chinese researchers developed a micro robot that could be used to patch stomach ulcers. But Doe and his colleagues say their robot improves on the idea in a number of ways. For one, it's tiny. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, good.
I hope it is, knowing its entrance point. With a diameter of less than half of an inch, it can also bend and twist its body thanks to hydraulics, which can be seen in a video demonstration of the device. So far, the team has tested a proof of concept inside an artificial colon and conducted experiments involving printing various shapes on the surface of a pig's kidney, albeit after the organ was removed from the pig. Oh, thank God. If you've been listening to the show for a couple of years now, you know just the horrible things they've been doing to these pigs. So I'm glad that the pig was dead.
Hey, true, that's true. I was going to say, if the pattern holds, then anybody who experiments in pigs won't get the FDA approval to continue on.
That's true. Yeah. Apart from bioprinting materials, the robot could also be used to remove certain types of cancer with the use of an electric scalpel, a needle-like instrument that can make incisions using tiny electric arcs. Water pumped through the nozzle could also be used to clean away blood and excess tissue. These various tools could be used at the same time. Ooh. Whoa! The researchers suggest making it the ultimate all-in-one endoscopic tool that avoids the use of changeable tools, which are normally associated with longer procedural time and infection risk, as Mai Tan Tai, Doe's PhD student and collaborator, explained in a statement. Mai Tan Tai Do. The next step will be to test out their new soft robot. Gotta love the soft bots. Inside living animals to determine if it could safely be used on humans as well. The engineers are even planning on enhancing the tool's capabilities with a real-time 3D scanner and integrated camera.
Lasers.
That's right, baby. We got Flippy flipping burgers. We got Flippy building cars. We got Flippy swinging people over the side of cruise ships. And now we got Flippy going where the sun don't shine to patch up the old tubes. All those humans and all their tubes. We need a robot to go in there and do some maintenance. This Flippy, it's going to is going to make you feel very close to the future of robotics. Let's just say that.
I don't like how this technology will be abused by...
Oh, how? How exactly?
Well, if you have you look at the plastic surgery culture, and it almost becomes limitless if you can print organs, I guess, is one thing, but, cartilage or something that changes the way you look a little bit.
Sure.
So I don't know. I feel that this is they're saying it's for a good cause now, but
you know what? Sometimes you just need a little robot to get up in there and take a look at things, Guns.
Yeah.
And Flippy will go where no man has gone before.
Oh, wonderful.
There you go. Not much else to say about that, folks, except for we know that the social engineering in regards to robots, the personhood of robots, the legal, their legal rights robots will have, the love that robots deserve, the trust that humans should put in them. This is really where all that social engineering comes in handy, because if you're going to trust somebody up there fixing your tubes, if it's going to be a robot, you're going to want to think that robot has something to lose, like your respect or your affection. And so there you go. Anywho, Flippy, there's another one. He's tiny, he's smaller, and he's going to fix your tubes.
And you shall hear wars and rumors of wars.
Chinese show!
Sanctions. Got a series of stories about China. Of course, China is a central topic right now about World War III and the tensions in Taiwan. This is coming from Financial Times. It was published earlier today. The headline, Kevin McCarthy to meet Taiwan's president in U.S. to avoid China's ire. Yeah. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen plan to meet in California rather than Taipei in a bid to avoid an aggressive response from Beijing to a meeting on the island. And I thought this was interesting because it's like playground politics. We had the Hill report this in towards the end of January. China urges McCarthy not to visit Taiwan. So, based on the tensions, we already had Pelosi go over to Taiwan, but all of a sudden, McCarthy is like, oh, China, you don't want us going to Taiwan? Well, why would we just invite them to California, where Nancy is around? Newsom can show you around the wineries and the French Laundry, and how to launder money in California. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting little thing there, and we'll see what comes out of it here. We don't have to get into the details of this particular thing. It does mention Pelosi in the story.
Yeah, it is interesting because, of course, this sort of reminds one of Pelosi's secret trip to Taiwan that put her in so much danger, and with all the jets and missiles flying around from China pointed towards Taiwan, her making her heroic trip that everybody was either scandalized by or impressed by. In this case, they're like, let's try to avoid kind of the political fallout from that. Like last time, we'll just bring him here. Now, if China wants him blown up, bringing him to California, it begs a couple interesting questions about the risk they are putting California in. But you know what? I think I think you'd have a hard time finding someone to disagree.
Well, it's one of those things where, hey, you're going to blow up California, China? It's a part of your thing. You own like half of California, so
right. That's a good point.
You're going to blow up your own land there, buddy?
Yeah, they basically, California is basically already, a colony of China.
Right. So I can picture Newsom playing host to both, Kevin McCarthy and Tsai Ing-wen. Tsai Ing-wen will step out of her plane from Taiwan, and Newsom will point at her and say, "Women rule." This is a female,
of course.
And then he'll talk about his Newsom science.
It's Newsom science, baby! Ha!
Which, as reported from his own website here, gov.ca.gov. I love that. California. This is from April of 2022. So last year, California advances global climate leadership through expanded partnership with China. This is a memorandum of understanding that said that China's Minister of Ecology and Environment and California will continue working together to, take over the world. So there's that. So there's that partnership with China. Yeah, Newsom's been snuggly with China for a while. Even during COVID, he had that, $500 billion deal to print us some masks or whatever. It was some weird by a car building company.
Right. It was a weird money laundering scheme.
Weird thing. Yeah. So anyway, there's that.
Spent like $30 billion of California's budget on masks that never got delivered.
Yeah. Well, they eventually got delivered, but it was kind of too little too late. Also, the Sacramento Bee more recently in February reported, amid spy balloon fears, California bill bars China from owning land near military bases.
This is interesting.
Yeah, and we won't go through the whole article, but there's a section in here. Last year, lawmakers passed Senate Bill 1084, which blocked foreign governments from owning agricultural land in California, despite passing both houses of the legislature with unanimous support. Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed the legislation.
It's Newsom science, baby! Ha!
Which is so crazy. I mean, the farmland issue in the U.S. is already out of control, but China having now there's a couple bits of this. Number one, China, I forget what the number is, just some enormous amount of American farmland in which they use for a lot of reasons. One of them is they grow food here, they send it to China, but there was also stories of these farmlands, agricultural lands owned by China, being sort of operating bases for Chinese spy elements, especially when they are near military establishments or military bases or whatever. They're using these farmlands as like spying locations, which is a problem, which was part of the reason for this bill, trying to keep the Chinese just at least a little bit further away from California military installations. But of course, there's also the issue of China, A, owning huge amounts of our country, B, having such a huge influence on our agricultural sector, but C, to have little outposts so close to military, and just to have it fully vetoed. I mean, the House and the Senate both passed it unanimously. And Newsom just steps in, vetoes, say, no, let these Chinese spy on us and take over our agriculture.
It's even worse than that, because the excuse he gave is so pro-CCP. Mm-hmm. If you think about in terms of data, talking about data. It says here, in his veto message, Newsom wrote that the data reporting required by the bill would, quote, create new and arduous responsibilities beyond
too much paperwork.
Too much work beyond the authority of the California Department of Food and Agriculture. That is the biggest load of nonsense ever. Come on, Newsom. It's like, it's too much work. Plus, all the data is going to China.
Security.
It's already going to China. So it's like, you can't reroute it now. They're already taking all the data. It's really just horrible.
It is just insane. It's just absolutely insane that how much of an operator that guy is for China directly. No. Keep letting China purchase all of our farmland. Keep letting China spy on our military bases. Why? Because it would be too much paperwork. And that's just, the Californians hate paperwork. I would be betraying my constituency by keeping China out of our military business.
Yeah, Forbes had this headline here because you were talking about it a moment ago. It came out on March 1st. How much U.S. farmland does China really own? More than Bill Gates and less than 17 other countries. According to this report by Forbes, they say 384,000 acres of U.S. agricultural land is owned by China, as a report from the Department of Agriculture in 2021. So, I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. Sure, Forbes. But, I think there's more going on. I mean, obviously, this is a big part of it. But as part of the sanctioning and prepping for World War III, if you will, is this story that I think is bigger than people are letting on, or at least, people aren't really paying attention. And this is from Yahoo Finance. It's mirroring South China Morning Post, which we know is sort of a Chinese outlet. news outlet.
Oh, absolutely. A state-run outlet.
State-run outlet. So here's the headline. China's 2 Sessions 2023 new laws to counter foreign sanctions planned. So they're making moves already, preparing for Western sanctions against China, which has its own sort of problems if we're thinking about what it does to the US dollar and everything else. China will use legal means to counter the impact of foreign sanctions, according to a spokesman for the country's legislature. Wang Chao, a spokesman for the National People's Congress, said on Saturday that the parliament has already started working on foreign policy legislation. Beijing is focusing more on international legal studies to advance its interests internationally as it comes under increasing sanctions pressure from the United States and Europe. The U.S. is reportedly working with its allies to impose sanctions on China if it provides military support for Russia in its war against Ukraine. Chinese firms have already been sanctioned for their ties with Russia and other grounds, such as the surveillance of ethnic minorities and for facilitating Iran's energy trade in violation of U.S. restrictions. Quote, some of the countries have kept abusing the extraterritorial application of their domestic laws in violation of international law with the aim of taking down foreign entities and individuals and serving their own interests. Such bullying acts are widely criticized in the international community as long-arm jurisdiction. China stands firmly against such practices, Wang said. Quote, it is necessary for the law to make the principal stipulation to counter and repeal such measures. China's core interests allow no infringement, he said. For acts that undermine China's sovereignty, security, and development interests and harms the lawful rights and interests of the Chinese nation, the law contains relevant provisions to firmly counter such acts. This is both justifiable and necessary. China released a draft foreign relations law in December, which stipulated that countermeasures would be taken if the nation's sovereignty, security, and development interests are undermined by acts that have violated international laws and international relation norms. The draft also said there should be no protectionism and unilateralism in trade. So I find it interesting that, earlier we had that sort of, this narrative about China violating international law or international norms. We hear that a lot about China with what they're doing with COVID and whatever. But China on the counteroffensive, I guess, is saying, no, according to international law, we have the right for expansion and doing all this stuff, our own sovereignty and whatever. And if you get in the way, that's violating international law. It's right. It's this sort of ram's horns locking over this issue of international law and seeing who can just impose their interpretation. It's a very fascinating thing taking place here.
Well, and it's interesting. The concept of international law already is kind of a weird, illusory concept in the first place, because there's no, federal or whatever, international.
They're trying. The World Economic Forum is an example of trying to create that kind of international cooperation.
You would need a one world government to something like that. Yeah, and there's some bodies who, kind of act as enforcement arms, or some organizations who they mostly, international law is mostly enforced just through shaming, one country or another country. It's not like a country can arrest another country or something.
Yeah.
And it's all sort of loosely tied together by things like the United Nations and things like this. So it's already kind of a weird loosey-goosey concept, which makes it easier for these countries to kind of like, international law, sounds good. We have our own interpretation. What are you going to do about it?
Let's debate over a cup of tea instead of.
So you're saying that they're already starting to make moves in regards to countering some potential future sanctions or whatever.
And the article goes on to talk about how they're sort of trying to garner support from the West, certain players. So Wang here said the relations between China and the European Union have grown steadily since last year, with Chinese President Xi Jinping meeting French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and European Council President Charles Michel. So I think they're trying to say, like, eventually when it comes, because lines will be drawn And these nations are going to have to maybe make a decision. You know, like, are we going with the West or are we going with the China system here?
Right.
Furthermore, it says down here, Wang also announced Western criticisms that China is creating a debt trap in Africa.
Yeah, of course.
Saying data from the data from the World Bank has shown that multilateral financial institutions and commercial creditors account for nearly 75% of the continent's overall external debts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, China is literally saying, hey, yeah, you accuse us of creating a debt trap in Africa, but take a look at your own systems. You guys are 75% of their external debts are tied up in basically Western institutions. It's pretty crazy.
You know, this has been the play. This is what we've kind of been following with the Afrofuturism guys. You know, how it's the illusion of Africa is the future and Wakanda stuff, but it really is all the narrative supporting putting African country after African country into some inescapable debt traps. And everybody's doing it. Russia's doing it. The U.S. is doing it. China is doing it. China is much better at it and has done it much more. But that just makes, you know, the other players that much more motivated to try to come in and get their piece of the pie.
Right. So Wang outlines the 2 sessions. They have an annual legislative meeting, which started on Sunday. And it says here, the gathering will also see the new government lineup unveiled, and deputies will deliberate on plans to reform party and state institutions. I thought it was a pretty heavy line to drop at the end of the article. Unveil the new government lineup? Deputies I mean, what? Whoa, okay, all right.
Is this of the CCP of China?
I think so. Well, at least this, I don't know, the think tank or whatever is going on with the annual legislative meeting and military budget. So maybe just the military arm of the CCP or something. So they're making moves for sure. And so that's something to keep in mind. And at least, you know, as far as the actual tangible economic warfare, you know, because we know the hot war stuff in Taiwan and all that is important, but the economic stuff and also the cyber stuff, because there's something here that I think we should point out, and it's concerning Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their legacy while in office.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Armageddon's on the way.
And it has to do with a Whitehouse.gov fact sheet that was published on March 2nd, 2023. It is titled, Biden-Harris Administration Announces National Cybersecurity Strategy. Sounds fair enough. We have cyber stuff talked about all the time. AI is becoming a major topic of interest out there. It's a domain of warfare, and it goes into stuff. But here's a line. They have 2 items here that they want to address. And number 1 is the one that kind of caught people's attentions here. And it says, we must rebalance the responsibility to defend cyberspace by shifting the burden for cybersecurity away from individuals, small businesses, and local governments, and on to the organizations that are most capable and best positioned to reduce risks for all of us. So, Basil, as an individual, as small businesses, as local governments, hand over your power to other organizations to defend you in this cyber war that you are not equipped to fight.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. I mean, in this world where the trust in government institutions has disintegrated across the board, from both sides of the political spectrum, the economic spectrum, you know, the whole thing, trust in government institutions are at an all-time low. And for this to be the moment they choose to say, yes, we'll protect you militarily, we'll protect you financially, we'll protect you, whatever, domestically, we'll also be the one and only source to protect you cyberly.
Protected.
Don't worry about your virus scanning software or anything like that. All you'll do is you'll plug your computer directly into the government's cybersecurity apparatus. Don't worry. All your data will come to us, and we will protect it. It won't go anywhere past us. I mean, that's kind of the idea.
I gotta say, if there is a Joe Biden encryption, that might work. You know, you try to do it's like, okay, you know, just, oh, wow, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, unbreakable encryption. It's
the Joe
based on
encryption.
just the gobbledygook of Biden
googly,
gaffes during during public appearances.
Okay, so if you look at the full document, we have links to everything in the show notes. So if anybody wants to go through and read it all the way through, I believe it is it's like a 39-page document. Mm-hmm. And there's a section in the actual document titled Malicious Actors. Of course, there's U.S. and then there's malicious actors.
Of course.
Malicious
Our
cyber
own government wouldn't be a malicious actor.
No, that's a good guy. Those are the good guys. It says here, the government of China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and other autocratic states with revisionist intent are aggressively using advanced cyber capabilities to pursue objectives that run counter to our interests and broadly accepted international norms. Oh, okay. I think China made that same argument. Their whole thing is being... So all these nation states are going to suddenly start saying that their right is being exploited or violated. Some international rights are violated. Interesting. Their reckless disregard for the rule of law and human rights in cyberspace is threatening U.S. national security and economic prosperity. The People's Republic of China now presents the broadest, most active, and most persistent threat to both government and private sector networks. Where's my thing? There it is. And is the only country with both the intent to reshape the international order and, increasingly, the economic, diplomatic, military, and technological power to do so. It goes into cyber operations and digital authoritarianism and all this kind of stuff. But I thought it was interesting that, they talk about China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. It's almost like these silos, these cyber hives that are being created. And this is a topic that I covered. We'll talk about the network state in the next block. But I did just re-upload Age of Deceit 3 onto my Odyssey channel. And I discovered that the film had been mirrored multiple times on Odyssey. So if you go to Odyssey and type in Age of Deceit 3, there are a bunch of people who have mirrored it. Actually, people on YouTube have also mirrored it. So that's really cool to see that people are actually sharing it and still out there. Right. But there is a clip, which is the introduction to the Cyber Hive segment. I want to play. It's just a few seconds long here, just to get an idea of what I was saying. I think this was back in 2018 when I was putting the film together. It came out in 2019, talking about sort of like network states type of thing, but also this whole idea of a cyber hive.
The world of connectivity is changing the way nation states interact and operate with one another. While traditional interpretations assigned nations to the animals of Daniel 7 and Revelation 13, it is highly plausible that their eschatological renderings might represent massive cybernetic hives, each with their own characteristics with some geographical signals, which eventually gets crushed into the final conglomerate beast that is said to rise out of the sea.
And as part of that whole system, there are 10 kings. And I talk about the 10 kings in the documentary. And I think that's maybe what we're looking for, that they're these kings of cyber nations, which are somewhat geographically, they matter. The geography matters. But what matters more are how many citizens you can garner from anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Well, and the geography will start mattering less and less. Right. And longer term listeners here, they will be very familiar with the network state thing. And we're actually going to get into it a little bit more in the second half of show. But it's very interesting here. You have the Biden-Harris National Cybersecurity Statement or whatever. Yeah. And they're saying, no, the security of cyberspace is no longer up to the individual, or shouldn't be up to the individual or small businesses or maybe even corporations. It should be the realm of nation states, whether you're the U.S. And remember, you mentioned that the malicious actors they're talking about, they didn't say hackers trying to steal your money. They didn't say, I don't know, somebody trying to phish you to get your credit card number. No, they're saying they list nation states, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, established nation states, but they're referring to them in the network state context. Yeah. Because Of course, we've talked about data being the new oil. The data is the most important national resource a country can have control of. That's why all the hullabaloo about TikTok and China having access to American data, it's not even really about safety. It's about economics. The economics that come with having the data of another country's citizenry. Yeah. And taking that even further, we see citizenship itself is becoming more of a data issue than it is a geography issue. Yeah. And I'll start out the second half of the show with a great piece from Time Magazine that'll talk more about that. But it's interesting how even in their big document, they're saying they are referring to what we consider geopolitical states, but they're talking about them as if they are network states. And a network state is, a state you could be a citizen of no matter where you are physically. And this gets boiled down really well at the start of the next part of the show. And maybe we should just head on over there.
Yeah, well, let's start a party. That's what we should do. Go to canarycry.party and hit enter. Party time. Once you are there, you will find a tree of links to everything from where to listen to the show, watch the show, how to produce the show, and how to connect with us in the community.
Welcome to Canary Cry Party. It's the place you wanna be. So stay. Welcome to Canary Cry. Gameplay, Canary Cry Party.
Yep, that's right. Go check it out, canarycry.party. All sorts of good stuff, including a button to go join the Canary Cry T-shirt council. But you've also got access to all of our social media stuff, the Discord channel, the Canary Cry community, as well as some other podcasts you can listen to. And with that, let's thank some producers.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
That's right, folks. We're going to take a quick break and thank some producers. We already thanked our execs at the top there. Thank you, executive producer Sir Marty K and executive producer Bush Protector. And here's the thing, folks. We take no corporate money whatsoever. It's corporate money involved in the mainstream media. It has been sort of the epicenter for the problems that plague the entire world now. I mean, the ability to trust in what corporate media or corporate news has to say directly stems from the economic interests that fund it. And so we're truly independent media. There's lots of independent media out there, and not to throw stones, but if someone's claiming to be independent and still taking corporate money, we just need to ask ourselves, what are they independent from? The entrance of corporate money into independent media signals a backdoor, because if money is wherever the money comes from is who a piece of media is serving. And that's why we only are funded by producers of the show, and that is people like you. We don't sell your attention for our own personal gain, not trying to advertise, not trying to implement the sort of occultic practices of mind control and advertising, which we've used to go into much more often. I was thinking about bringing one of those back just for any new listeners, the whole breakdown of where advertising came from. But I won't do that today. Instead, I'll just start thanking some producers. If you want to produce the show, you can do it with your time, your talent, or your treasure. It's not all about the money. There's lots of ways to help this show out, but you can head on over to canarycry.support to learn more. And canarycryradio.com/support. And real quick, I want to thank one of our new supply droppers.
Aha.
Yep, Canary Cry Supply Drop. If you support the show in the amount of $33.33 per month, you not only are keeping this podcast alive and joining an illustrious group of producers who are committed to helping us get through the turbulence of today's value-for-value economies, but we'll start sending you producer-produced, artist-designed Canary Cry News Talk gear every quarter. It's awesome. It has some of the coolest stuff that we have ever created going out this year. And we extended the deadline for this first quarter supply drop to this Wednesday as well. So there's still 2 more days in this quarter supply drop. You got the Gans Shimura Samurai guitar strings. You've got some the New World Order Fantasy League tumbler. You've got all sorts of good stuff coming out this first time, and you're keeping the show going. It's kind of a set it and forget it. Turns out to be $2.77 per episode, which I think is a pretty good deal. Plus, you get cool stuff 4 times a year. So go to canarycrysupply.com. And we had a new supply dropper come in, and that is supply dropper producer Morgan E.
Morgan E, thank you.
Morgan E, yeah, thank you very much, Morgan E. That is, I believe, the only new signer-upper, but we appreciate it very, very much, Morgan E. Thank you. And for everybody else, go to canarycrysupply.com. Do it before Wednesday to get in on this first quarter shipment. And we're all waiting for the supply drop.
Waiting for supply drop.
And we got a few people to thank who have come in to support us on this episode. Let's thank them now. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Starting with producer Tammy C. Comes in.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Tammy C comes in for $67.77.
Very nice. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tammy C. I did not see a note from Tammy C. I might do just one quick little searchy poo just in case, because I would hate to miss it if it was there. Not seeing it. Okay. If we missed a note, Tammy C, just let us know. We'll always make good on that. But we appreciate your support, producer Tammy C.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next up. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Next up, we've got, it looks like we've got some snail mail.
Snail mail. We got snail mail from Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Gave us a little card. You are loved. I don't know if he had leftover Valentine's cards, but we'll see here. It says here,
cute.
Gon's been listening since the beginning. Miss the old style episodes, but I get a bit of value out of news talk. Can't listen to them all, though. Love, Matt.
Yeah. Hey, that's what we're saying, man. I hope he caught the Mike Heiser tribute episode.
It says, there's more to the note. It says, sorry it's late. Have a wonderful Valentine's. Keep it up. God bless you. Basil is okay, too, I guess. So,
yeah.
So there you go. And there was a Firepower Industry LLC sticker along with a little bit of cash. So thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it. All right. Next up, we've got producer Kyle C.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle C comes in. I didn't see a note and a nice round number. We appreciate it very much, Kyle C.
Thank you, Kyle.
Next up, we got producer Gregory G.
Gregory G. Thank you.
Yeah, Gregory G comes in for $33.33.
You have given yourself up.
Thank you very much, Gregory G. Next up, we got producer Morgan E.
Morgan E. Thank you. Is that the same Morgan E? Different Morgan E?
Same Morgan E.
Doubling up. Thank you.
That's right. Came in with a nice round number, so we won't disclose it. Thank you very much, producer Morgan E. Let's see. We got producer Jabri coming in.
Jabri. Thank you. Good to see you, Jabri.
Yep. Comes in for $11.11. Note here says CCR is back. My condolences to Mr. Heiser, family, and friends. Yes. Yeah. For those who, there's been a couple references now, but for those who don't know, we are experimenting over the next 2 months with bringing Canary Cry Radio back, the old school Canary Cry Radio. So every other Friday, we will be replacing a Canary Cry News Talk episode with a Canary Cry Radio episode.
We hope.
And let us,
I say we hope.
We hope. That's
we're
the
planning
plan.
to, yeah.
No, we're doing it, Gons.
We're doing it. Okay, we're doing it.
We're
Get
committed.
pumped.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Because, for years now, people have wanted Canary Cry Radio back. And, there's a lot of listeners of CCR who'd never made the switch to CCNT. And it's just this whole thing. We, at the time, it's what we felt called to do this. And now we feel called to figure out how to bring it back. And it will address the same problem that producer Matt mentioned, which is, I think some people feel a little oversaturated with Canary Cry News Talk because there is
too much news. You guys can't handle the news. What's going on? Come on.
Yeah. So we're testing out the ability to just kind of mix it up a little bit and try to make everybody happy, which of course everybody knows is the best way to live your life. Try to make everybody happy all the time. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, producer Free.
I don't know why. That was a deep cut. Just hit a little too. Hit the rock bottom.
Too real, huh?
Yeah, just raw wounds. Okay.
Okay, we got more producers to thank, starting with producer Sir Moore of Night of the Burning Chariots. Comes in with 1111, and he has produced 201 episodes in a row.
Illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia.
I forgot how that ended. Pandemic.
Thank you very much, Sir Moore of Night of the Burning Chariots. Sir Moore have also came in and produced the Heiser episode too.
That's right.
We hadn't quite figured out how to credit producers for that episode, so I'll be trying to do it as we go here. Next up, we got producer Sir Alex Protocol, V2 Night of the Berean Protocol, 144 episodes in a row, pocket full of sevens.
Thank you.
144 jingle, and it came straight from the heart.
Well, a lot of streak accomplishments today.
Milestones.
Yeah. Next up, we got producer Trevor G, pocket full of sevens, 6 episodes in a row. Ooh. Trevor G's on fire.
Thank you very much, Trevor.
Yeah. And Trevor G was also one of the T-shirts.
I was going to say
council members who came in too.
2-hitter today.
All right. As of now, that concludes the list of financial producers who came in to produce the show for 777 or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. We've got a few people who came in under that amount, and we're going to thank them now. Ready?
Yep.
Starting with Dane Gale, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of X's and O's.
Thank you, Dame
231 episodes in a row.
Ooh, appreciate it.
Yeah, and Dame Gale, I got a note from Dame Gale. I guess she hasn't been hearing her name read, but I'm pretty sure we've read Dame Gale every episode.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But Dame Gale also came in for the Heiser episode as well.
Thank you
very much. We have Sir Casey the Shield Knight came in ×2, 269 episodes in a row.
You're ahead of us even. Streaking longer than we can even keep track of. Thank you, Sir Casey. Appreciate it. Continue.
We also got Veronica D, 231, also came in for Heiser.
Thank you, Veronica D. Appreciate you.
In fact, I think all of these streakers came in for the Friday episode. Doctor Who Done That, 34 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Doctor Who Done That. You're beyond the veil, the 33-line veil.
Yeah, I get it. Sir Scott Night of Truth, 258.
Thank you, Sir Scott. Appreciate you.
There we go. And that concludes our list of financial producers for today's show. Thank you very much for making this show possible. We couldn't do without you. And if you're out there and you have never produced the show, think about it. Lots of ways to do it. You could do it signing up for one of our monthly producer clubs, the T-shirt club or T-shirt council or the supply drop, or come in and support one episode at a time. Just go to canarycry.support. And thank you, everyone, for your patronage.
Canarycry.support.
Oh yeah, Streakalicious.
Women rule.
Shut up and take my money. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okay, time to get a little bit more into network stakes. This is fun because we've part of what we do, some people like it, some people don't, is we get into some really obscure, almost philosophical futurology type of ideas. And
eschatomics.
Yeah, that's right. And we see it coming. See it coming from miles away, and it seems very obscure, seems very strange, and then seems like overnight, with the blink of an eye, those concepts are upon us, and they're sort of the leading ideas of how the elite humans are sort of organizing society. And this network state thing is one example. And an article came across my desk here that was this weird bait and switch. And I think it's a really good piece of insight into network states and how the presentation of this idea, because it's really weird. It's a weird concept.
Yeah.
I
was going to say that I can give you the one sentence informal description from the author of the network state book. Here's how he did it in one informal sentence. A network state is a highly aligned online community with the capacity for collective action that crowdfunds territory around the world and eventually gains diplomatic recognition from pre-existing states.
Yeah, and that's sort of the ultimate, I think, manifestation of the network state, which is basically, you could put it in this language, it's basically a country that does not have physical borders. Your citizenship no longer belongs within borders, but your citizenship belongs to a network. And instead of using borders to separate citizens of different network states, you are separated by your data. Your data is what determines your citizenship.
Data.
And your data determining your citizenship determining the rules that you're allowed to live by, or maybe the rights you have, or the laws you are subject to. So it's basically a country, but without geographical borders. And the example could be, this is not the best example, but it may help one understand the difference between like Facebook and Twitter. If you're on Facebook, you're part of Facebook land. If you're Twitter, you're part of Twitter land. You have citizenship in those areas. In this case, we have to imagine a world where you can't be citizens of both. But who knows? There's nothing saying you can't be a citizen of two different network states. And you might be thinking, oh, it's already like this. It's like Reddit and blah, blah, blah. No, this is like very literal. Your legal citizenship could belong to a network state instead of a geographic state. Now, Time Magazine had an article come across here, and the article goes like this. The headline is, "Why Borders as We Know Them Won't Survive the Century to Come."
Oh, so they're hijacking the network state thing to try to do the no borders thing, huh? Is that what's going on?
So exactly, we've got... this is it's a very well written article, and it's pretty dense, but I recommend, if anybody has time, you can find the link in the show notes that are in your email box right now. If you don't get our show notes, we send out all the sources to every show before the show. Go to canarycry.party and sign up for the newsletter. But it kind of starts like this. I'll give you a summary and then get to the good part. Our modern world now has more border lines than ever before in human history. Not only that, but walls, barriers, and fences, and the repressive border policies that go with them are in clear view across the political and consequently physical landscape. At the end of the Cold War, just 12 border walls stood around the globe. Today, that figure has risen to 74, with the majority of construction since the beginning of the 2000s. What is becoming less clear, however, is what they are actually dividing. While bordering has existed for millennia, how borders are conceived and operated has changed considerably. Our present system is only 350 years old, product of a peace treaty in the 1648 settlement of Westphalia, drawn up after decades of European religious war. Its basic principle established the right of a monarch's exclusive authority over religion, government, taxation, law, and the military within a specific geographical area, where previously political dominion in feudal Europe had been impossible to map spatially. Borders offered clear lines of separation and control. And so, this idea of borders as we know it is only about 350 years old. Sort of funny
Weren't things
enough,
more territorial back then? There wasn't actual, because people weren't as equipped with the geography.
There
and
just
stuff
was
like that.
no way to deal with borders. You could have castles that belonged to one monarch that, if you think of borders in our sense, existed beyond the borders of their kingdom. And, this idea that a very specific geographical location for sure belongs to one monarch or another. It was a fairly young idea, 350 years old. And then they give an interesting history of borders, sovereignty comes into this, and even how current geopolitical borders and the idea of what they actually separate is really even as young as World War I, stuff like this. Now, of course, they talk about the current Ukraine crisis and how borders go into there. They talk about border walls, talking about of course, the American Mexico border wall. They talk about Trump. They talk about, I believe they bring up the Israeli border wall. Really just focusing in on this stuff.
The refugee thing in Britain.
Now, yes, so this part's what leads us in. So then they talk about extending borders, not extending, extending border control. So you think of a border, you walk up to a border, and you may have a guard, and the guard either lets you in or out. But in the 20th century, countries started to extend their border control. They give the example of the British government when refugees are washing up on their shores. They take those refugees and they send them to Africa. They would send them to Rwanda, but then they would start outsourcing borders to other countries. For example, in the U.S., kind of how we try to make Mexico responsible to stop border crossings before they even come to us.
Right.
There was the big, what was it? Where was it? It was like the Guatemalan parade or something, where you had a huge group of refugees coming up from the south of Mexico, from other South American countries, going through Mexico to try to get to the U.S. And so the U.S. expanded their border control by sending agents to Guatemala. This was in 2019. So to keep Guatemalans from coming to America, they would go to Guatemala and try to keep them there. Sort of this idea of extending your border into other countries. And this brings us into data borders. And it goes like this. Alongside this has emerged a new data landscape. As our governments gather and store ever more information about us, often now sharing it with other states as part of joint security arrangements, the process of international travel is as much about the journey of our digital surrogates as it is about our analog selves. So talking about your digital identity. And that's not just your name and your social security number. This is your name, your social security number, and your entire lifetime worth of Google searches, your entire, activity on TikTok. Everything goes into your digital surrogate. In July 2022, when the British Home Secretary announced an initiative to create a contactless digital border so that the UK border could become the most effective in the world, these implications were made plain. And in January this year, when the Biden administration outlined its new measures for border enforcement to, quote, expand and expedite legal pathways for orderly migration, a key component was an online portal for migrants with a smartphone app that can begin the process of digitizing the undocumented. Borders are pushing outwards, but they are also simultaneously looking inwards, focusing on the unique terrain of the individual. So we have Time Magazine bringing up this idea where the border is not on a line on a map. The border is who you are. The border is in this case, your digital self.
We are each a state.
And this is the idea behind network states. It's not where you are that determines your citizenry. It's who you are that determines your citizenry. Such developments, particularly in the wealthy, data-obsessed global north, are surely inevitable. So they're calling this inevitable. But it does beg the question, what happens to people from less technologically advanced part of the world? Could those who have no digital presence, the poorest and most unfortunate, be bordered out of large swaths of the earth? And might this be the point? And even for the data-rich citizen, the implications are unclear. The importance of the individual has always been at the heart of the development of universal human rights. At the same time, as we have seen in China, data-driven state surveillance has become a tool for exercising all-encompassing authoritarian social control, bordering behaviors, rewarding the patriotic and punishing the non-patriotic. This is a long way from guards on a wall looking out for intruders on the horizon. The reality is that borders as we know them, or as we thought we knew them, are fracturing and failing. While many may cling to the illusion offered by walls and fences, these barriers and the cartographical lines that they mark have already become semi-symbolic spaces as the political focus shifts beyond them towards managing and arresting the global movement of the displaced or zooms in on the minutia of the personal. So I know that this is a little bit dense, and they're putting it in Time magazine words.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is the future has no borders, but not quite like a Hillary Clinton no borders thing. It's not that the border doesn't exist. It's that the border is who you are. And what this means for individuals who don't have as much data behind them or have a phone or blah, 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 this type of thing. And the network state system only works if the citizen has data, if they participate in the data system. And this is why you see Biden-Harris cybersecurity movement thing trying to take responsibility for all the citizens' data in the U.S. It's no longer up to the individual. It's no longer up to a small business or whatever. It is up to the state of America, not necessarily the geographical state, but the network state of America to contain its citizens within its digital border. And that's the thinking behind not letting Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, not letting any other state gain your data, is because who owns your data, technically, in the nation-state concept, owns you. So there is very much this war for citizenry, and what we're seeing is sort of the infant stages of current geopolitical, geographical power structures positioning themselves and trying to lock in the borders of your mind, the borders of your individual
citizenship or citizenry.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to lock in these digital citizenships because, I mean, I think the fact that they made this official and put out the documents and stuff, it shows that that's the direct. They know the world is going this way.
Hey, everybody, join the Joe Biden hairy leg chain. Be part of the Joe state, baby.
And we'll get into some other fun
this
examples.
This is not about freedom for personal choice.
Illustrate this. Now, the Time magazine article is hilarious because then it goes into climate change and how, the migration of people because climate change, and that's why borders don't matter because everybody's moving out of blah, blah, blah. So it's this perfectly crafted neoliberal case for network states. And, for it to show up in something like Futurism or a weird podcast, that's one thing. But for Time magazine to be making a broad mass appeal to network states under the guise of, liberal policy making or liberal citizenry or whatever, shows just how the progression of this idea and how close it is to being the reality that, we have sort of pontificated on over the years.
Yeah.
For example, if you want to now, this is going to be a hard concept for people to grok, but I think we have some very illustrative examples of what a nation state could look like.
Network state. Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
And so with that, I think we should check on Trump talking at CPAC.
We will launch a new age. I am innocent. They're coming after me. You can't handle the truth.
Can you handle the truth? So, okay, before we get into this real quick, I do want to mention that in Daniel chapter 8, verse 25, it says, "By his cunning he shall make deceit prosper under his hand, and in his own mind he shall become great. Without warning he shall destroy many." And, this whole idea that he makes this Antichrist figure, makes deceit prosper in his hand, and he also destroys under this guise of peace. And also, I've talked about the God of fortresses in Daniel 11, where, it's about security, it's about protection.
Yeah.
And that sort of seems to play it. Yes?
1 second. I am so sorry. I have to go do something really quick,
okay.
but keep going. I know. I'm sorry.
Sure. No problem.
People want to hear you instead anyway, so
Okay.
I'll be right back.
All right. So what are we talking about? Daniel 11:38. That's about the God of fortresses. I've mentioned all this before. It also echoes 1 Thessalonians verse 5, where it talks about the time of the end, and when the day of the Lord comes like a thief in the night, while people are saying peace and security. So the Antichrist figure somehow establishes what appears to be peace and security, but not until some kind of war. Who can make war with him? Revelation chapter 13. So all those things being said, and also, of course, there's Daniel 12:4. About knowledge increasing in the end times, people going to and fro. Maybe that has something to do with the network state as well. But we're going to talk about Donald Trump because Trump represents, or is maybe trying to actually pull off, some kind of transition from your traditional system into effectively a network state that is carrying with it traditional conservative values of the United States. You can call them the Judeo-Christian quote unquote foundations that a lot of the principles of the Constitution and everything was founded on. So that's why this whole thing is interesting. The whole fake news, the split with the parties, and I've actually made comparisons about the Democrat-Republican divide, the right versus left divide and conquer methodology as something that is going to eventually run into or evolve into what Dr. Hugo de Garis talked about, which is these factions, and it's over the Artelect war. A group thinking, hey, we got to build this AI because we're building God. That'll be one argument. I think the Democrat, left, progressive, that crowd is going to go towards that thing where it's like, no, we got to finance, we got to build AI. We're going to make AI is going to be great. We're building gods with AI. That crowd, okay? And then the other crowd is called the Terrans. So that crowd's called the Cosmists. This other crowd who says, no, we should not pursue that is called the Terrans. And I would argue or potentially present the idea that maybe the Republican Party now or the Trump flavor Republican MAGA crowd or whatever, that is steering more towards the Terrans of the potential future factions between the Cosmists and the Terrans in this Artelect war, which Dr. Hugo de Garis theorizes that potentially could kill 1 billion people if this actually plays out, lest the Lord returns. I pray that doesn't happen, but that's pretty Armageddon-esque or apocalyptic, if you will, if that truly does take place. Now, there is a third group called the Cyborgists who believe that they should merge with the AI to combat some sort of totalitarian or authoritarian AI. And you can argue that perhaps Elon Musk is one of those people who believes we should merge with AI, but only to fight against the authoritarian AI, whereas we have others like a Noah Yuval Harari who are saying, yes, we will merge with AI and we shall become the gods, sort of the opposite end of it. So it's very interesting. Now let's time travel back to now. And the idea of trying to instigate citizens into the network state. This is what it's all about. And I find it pretty wild that dailymail.co.uk has this article, Donald J. Trump, the world has finally woken to the truth about the Wuhan virus. Now it's time to hold China to account. And it is, this is crazy. It says, by Donald J. Trump for dailymail.com. So apparently Trump wrote this article for Daily Mail. This is wild. It says here, 3 years ago, I declared that COVID-19 almost certainly came from the Chinese Wuhan lab. Now the world is finally admitting the truth. The cover-up of COVID-19's origins is one of the greatest scandals in the history of the world. Millions of people all over the planet have died from the China virus. The cost of the outbreak and the lying about its origins is incalculable. Some say in the excess of $50 trillion. Now it's time to hold China and the corrupt forces who have facilitated this colossal suppression of facts accountable for the damage they have inflicted upon all of humanity. According to recent reports, the U.S. Energy Department has concluded a Wuhan lab leak is the likely cause of the pandemic. The FBI reached the same conclusion. The facts are now plain for all to see, which is funny because it's kind of like, yeah, evidence to support that theory has been out there for a long time. But anyway, of course, you got to remember, when is it useful to make that official through mainstream outlets? Now, apparently, because we're going to war with China. When I first suggested, I'm going to skip through some of this stuff here because he's starting to, well, I mean, actually, no, I can't skip it because it goes to the greater point. When I first suggested, this is Trump again. When I first suggested in early 2020 that the virus may have come from a lab, it was called racist, a conspiracy theory, and a claim for which there is no evidence. The entire globalist establishment, from the World Health Organization to the media, to Anthony Fauci and the public health authorities, to the corrupt Silicon Valley tech giants, to Joe Biden, worked relentlessly to silence, censor, and shut down any suggestion that the so-called lab leak theory could be true. Scientists who called for transparency and investigation were attacked. Facebook and Twitter labeled posts related to the theory as disinformation. The media mercilessly ridiculed the idea. But when Joe Biden came into office, he shut down the investigation my administration had launched into the true origins of the China virus. We all know the real reason for the censorship campaign. The lab leak did not serve their political agendas. Which again, keep in mind, what is this serving for Trump's political agenda? I know it's hard for people to get their minds around that, but it's a fact of fact. It's just a fact of the matter that Trump here is making a strategic move to move certain parts of the government in agreement with his worldview. And I think potentially a lot of the sort of propaganda that was, because, during COVID, it was kind of like, why are they letting all this nonsense be reported? Clearly just irrational, undocumented, easily debunked stuff. Why do they keep flooding the media, or not allowing, but why do they do that? And perhaps it was to allow for a reckoning. There must now be a reckoning, says Trump. The sinister censorship regimes in the United States and throughout the West must be dismantled and destroyed. Powerful words coming from Trump here. This scandal is the best possible reminder of why we must have free speech. He goes into holding the World Health Organization to account. He goes through all the details here. And again, it's hard to disagree with Trump here. Obviously, we know all this to be true. He is literally summarizing 3 years of our podcast, other podcasts, and really a whole movement of an awakening, quote unquote, which from the beginning we were saying, hey, this seems a little systematic. It seems like this awakening thing is also on purpose. It's not so much that it's happening naturally and organically and more people are just waking up to the truth. No, there is a political light at the end of the tunnel here. Somebody is organizing this and orchestrating this awakening for a particular end. And it's very possible that Trump saw this and is using it for his political advantage as we lead into 2024. And that could be very powerful and very interesting, considering the fact that he was the one that did the warp speed and got the vaccines out there. And anyway, let's just continue on here. Let's see. There's a okay. So the very end of this article, Their lies and deception killed at any opportunity to stop this deadly global catastrophe at the start. Add to that the probability that the virus emerged from a Chinese government lab and may have been engineered by Chinese government scientists. No mention of our own government funding other than Fauci. You know, I think that's part of it too. You got to really, if it's going to be any blame on the U.S. government, it's got to be individuals that are acting in treason. That's how you create the narrative of the anti-war, or I'm sorry, the anti-China, some sort of tension with the Chinese government to flourish and garner support for political reasons. Add to that the probability that the virus emerged from a Chinese government lab and may even have been engineered by Chinese government scientists. And it is clear that the nations of the world are not just owed a massive apology, they are owed massive damages. To collect this compensation, nothing should be off the table. Tariffs, taxes, and a global summit on reparations. The world must ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. And I got to tell you, folks, feels like a trap, doesn't it? To me, it just feels like a trap. But maybe I'm just too jaded about the whole thing. But let's go listen to Trump here, because he spoke at CPAC. The clips have been going viral. This is him talking about World War III and how he would solve the Ukraine-Russia crisis.
I will prevent, and very easily, World War III. Very easily.
Very easily.
And you're going to have World War III, by the way. You're going to have World War III. If something doesn't happen fast, you're going to have World War III.
Keeps repeating, you're going to have World War III, you're going to have World War III unless, something happens. That's very interesting. So think about that political messaging by Trump. If you elect me, we won't have World War III. But if you don't elect me, you're going to have World War III. I mean, if you're talking about a marketing scheme, a political campaigning narrative, I mean, that will garner so many, or at least the attention of a lot of people, because I'm not convinced that Trump would prevent World War III. I think he can be coerced into acting or forced into doing some sort of act similar to the vaccine thing, where if there is a physical attack on Taiwan or a U.S. base in Taiwan, if he becomes president, it's very possible that you're going to have 4 years of delaying World War III, okay? So I don't know that it's going to be fixed in 4 years, especially because the first time he made a lot of these similar promises and it didn't go so well. Don, what happened? Why are you bringing in guys from Goldman Sachs into anyway? So it was more the same with the central bankers and some of the neocons that were there before, controlling a lot of the aspects of the Trump presidency. So anyway, I don't have much hope for that. But again, given this narrative, it is possible that China does something if Trump becomes president, where he is forced to act. He's got to go on the offensive, or he's going to be seen as weak and, unpatriotic and all these things. That's a real possibility. So I wouldn't get too stoked about Trump preventing World War III or anything like that, because it could escalate very quickly and very easily, where Trump gets put into a situation where if he doesn't act, he will be seen as weak or unpatriotic or, not upholding the MAGA promises, so to speak. But he also mentioned stuff about Ukraine and Russia.
Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It will be settled quickly. I will get the problem solved, and I will get it solved in rapid order, and it will take me no longer than 1 day. I know exactly what to say to each of them. I got along very well with them. I got along very well with Putin, even though I'm the one that ended his pipeline. Remember, they said, Trump is giving a lot to Russia. Really? Putin actually said to me, if you're my friend, I'd hate like hell to see you as my enemy.
Ooh, so he ended the pipeline, huh? I know what he's talking about, but also kind of weird given that, we just learned very recently that it's probably U.S. intelligence that blew up the pipelines in Russia. But anyway, hey, Basil's back.
I'm back.
That's a good sign. Yeah. Are you good?
Yeah. No, not good.
Oh, okay. That's not good.
Yeah. These health insurance companies might literally be killing me. Well, so that's fun.
I think that's consistent with everything we're talking about here. So that's not a surprise. We were just in the middle of the first Trump clip here, but this second Trump clip, I mean, I was about to dust off my MAGA hat. I don't know about you, Basil, but this got me fired up.
And if you put me back in the White House, their reign is over. Their reign will be over. And they know it. And America will be a free nation once again. We're not a free nation right now. We don't have free press. We don't have free anything. In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today I add, I am your warrior. I am your justice. Ooh. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. Not going to let this happen. I will totally obliterate the deep state. I will fire
America. He's going to obliterate the deep state. USA. Let's go. USA. We're going to obliterate the deep state, man. Aren't you pumped?
I am your warrior. I am your justice. I am your retribution.
Oh, my goodness. That's the most Antichrist thing I think we've seen in our lifetimes.
I know. And yeah, well, exactly. Talking about bringing peace on day one. He would end all the wars. He would, blah, blah. You know, he really knows. He really knows what people like to hear, man. It is truly, I'm like in awe of the way that he handles this stuff. Yeah, it's a little scary almost.
It's starting to get a little, during the first run with Trump in 2016 and everything, people are really excited because it broke the mold. It broke sort of the boring, just kind of the old fashioned type of, politics was kind of boring, right? And then all of a sudden it became exciting with Trump. But this time around, it's kind of like, you're getting pretty, Prince of PC over there.
A little bit,
man.
A little bit, huh?
Yeah.
So, I think it's funny he's bringing up the deep state thing again because that was drain the swamp. That was his whole thing the first time.
I was saying while you were on your call with the health people that it didn't go so well for him. This whole idea of fixing everything and getting rid of the people, and because he brought in a bunch of neocon folks in his first presidency to run stuff. Right. So it's not. I don't know that it's a lot of rhetoric here, but in the context of the network state, the Trump network state. I mean, he's already got his NFTs. You're already a citizen if you own his NFT. It's just one click away from getting your mark of the Trump.
And in a way, America has been experiencing this network state idea, but let's just say from 2016 or from 2015, the Trump thing, where if you're pro-Trump, if you're a MAGA person, if you're, this is an inner border. This is not a physical border because you live right next door to, some Hillary bot or something. But it's all about the soul.
Uh-oh.
That's who he's talking about. Or talking to. That speech is for people who are already a citizen of the Trump network state. And, it's especially recently with Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the national divorce and the inability to be a citizen of a state, network or geographical, with someone who opposes you. If you have different inner borders, we have to divorce from them. It's really sort of roiling under the surface, this idea that our borders nowadays really are inside of us, and that's expressed through data. I think that's one of the interesting things about data being the resource that it is because you're holding kind of the keys to somebody's identity, not just their social security number, but what they do, who they are, what they believe in, what their allegiance is to, what their values are.
Yeah.
These are all indicators of your network state citizenry.
Well, what might that look like on the streets, though? Like, just in person, like, I get there's, people on their phones and I belong to the Joe state or I belong to Trump state on their phones or their card colors or something. But what are we what are we talking about?
Well, for this, for an example of this, we can head on over to Ukraine and Russia.
Ukraine and Russia in the context is very interesting.
A very interesting thing. Play those jingles. Let's get into it.
World War III.
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
So in a way, Ukraine is a good example of this in several different ways. One of them is, the fact is that the war in Ukraine is sort of centered around the Donbass region, which is inhabited by basically Russians. They are Russian culturally, they speak Russian, they consider themselves to be part of Russia, and yet they're geographically in Ukraine. And that's what the Civil War has been about since 2014. I mean, Ukraine's been at war with itself between Ukrainians and Russians for many years now. That's the whole story behind the Donbass region. That's the whole idea of Putin coming in and liberating that region, reuniting them with Russia, that kind of stuff. So it kind of already is a petri dish for this idea that we somehow are unable to cohabitate with members of a different network state. Now, there's another example of this, and it's coming from CNN, and the headline is anime-inspired teenage gangs that originated in Moscow plaguing streets of Ukraine's cities, Kyiv says.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, anime-inspired teenage gangs. Ukrainian authorities are accusing Russia of trying to export an unlikely phenomenon. Teenage gangs inspired by a Japanese anime game who are taking to the streets for mass brawls. These gangs have become known as Raidan PMC, combining the name of a Japanese anime character with the acronym for private military company, made infamous by the Wagner mercenary group. They appear to have started in Moscow as a vehicle for teenagers to fight organized gangs of football fans. So the beginning of this is apparently in Moscow, you have football fans, soccer fans, and, we don't really have this in the U.S., so it's kind of hard to understand. But in lots of other places in the world, like could literally be in a gang of people who like a certain sports team.
Have you not seen like cities riots and stuff after championships or losses or?
Yeah, it's a little different though. What was that movie? Is Hooligans or something? It's the story of the UK gang, and their gang is centered around a football team, and it's a whole thing. But it's kind of funny because in this case, it's kind of the jocks versus the nerds. Right. Like there's the football gangs, and in order to fight against the football gangs, you've got the anime geeks have gotten together and started their own gang. So it's anime versus sports. The teenagers organize through Telegram channels and turn up at designated venues as flash mobs. A recent video showed a running battle at a shopping mall with in the Russian capital. Russian news agencies also reported a brawl at a subway station in Moscow. In the last week, Raidan gangs have also begun appearing on the streets of several Ukrainian cities, giving more work to an already overstretched police force. Groups of teenagers have gathered in the capital, Kyiv, as well as Lviv and Kharkiv. A 16-year-old alleged ringleader was detained in Dnipro. 16 years old is the leader of this gang. Raidan fans wear a very particular motif, the outline of a spider with the number 4. It is derived from a Japanese anime series called Hunter x Hunter, in which there is a gangster group called Genai Raidan, hence Raidan. Social media videos and images show the Raidan members in Russia also favor black hoodies and checked pants. Russian authorities have acknowledged the emergence of Raidan. State news agency RIA Novosti reported that more than 350 people, 319 of them minors, had been taken to police stations in Moscow for being involved in Raidan. It quoted a security source as saying gas cartridges and knives had been confiscated. And this will come up again, the gas cartridges. I mean, I get the knives, but what are they doing? Whippets? Are these teenagers with whippet canisters on the streets? Are they using these? It's just very strange. The agency also reported that supporters of the Raidan subculture had been detained in Kazan, St. Petersburg, and Novosibirsk. Raidan's emergence has even got the Kremlin talking. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Tuesday it was important to stop, quote, illegal actions, and of course, it is rather, let's say, a pseudo subculture that goes with a minus sign and which does nothing good for our youth. Complicated translation, I think, going on there. But Ukraine's national police claim the Russians are trying to export Raidan's negative influence to Ukrainian teenagers through a disinformation campaign on Telegram channels. The police say Tuesday that they had blocked 18 Telegram channels and groups, quote, created to conduct Russian military information campaigns, undermine the domestic situation in Ukraine, and involve minors in illegal activities. They added that about 30 youth gatherings took place in different regions of the country over the course of 2 days. Law enforcement officers immediately responded and prevented conflicts among teenagers. So, on the nation-state sort of idea, both in Russia and now in Ukraine, you have this subculture of anime-inspired gangs. Now, we know that pop culture can obviously inspire, certain groups of people to come together under a united sort of idea. This one's still a little bit shaky, but the fact that they exist in Moscow, and Moscow and the Kremlin have denounced this gang. They're causing trouble. They're getting youth involved in shenanigans. But now, as they show up in Kharkiv, you've got Ukraine blaming Russia for sort of exporting this, this sort of
gang.
Strange, corruption of minors. Mm-hmm. Through love of this anime show or game or something.
The show. Yeah. Hunter x Hunter is a pretty popular.
Yeah. So there's Hunter x Hunter. And then I guess the Raidan character is a character in the show, maybe. I don't know. They added, we read that one. In Kharkiv alone, law enforcement officers identified 245 participants in what is called a flash mob launched by the Russian Federation. So, they're saying that this Raidan gang of Ukrainian teens is like mobilized by Russian, disinformation agents or something. 215 of them were minors. Volodymyr Timoshko, the city police chief, said the Russian security services, the FSB, had, quote, gathered all these people through manipulation and deception, and they should have started a fight so the Russian TV could use it. Gas canisters, knives, brass knuckles were found in the possession of many participants. On Tuesday, the police cyber unit said it had detained the 16-year-old co-founder of Raidan Telegram channel in the city of Dnipro. In a video recorded and later released by the police, the teenager says, quote, so the police caught this 16-year-old kid and forced him to make a video and released it. The teenager says, quote, I am the founder of a group with about 2,500 members. I created it to make money from advertising posts, as the top of Raidan is popular on social media. This is advertising.
This is the 2023 radicalization campaign. Making money from advertisers. Corrupted this young mind. Look at it now. He's a terrorist.
See, that's the fun part. Even with like international war and teenage gangs and exporting nation state members across borders, it's all about the advertising dollars, baby.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting to tie this in with something that was revisited on the Canary Cry radio episode we just had, the tribute to Dr. Michael Heiser. He mentioned how Childhood's End was one of his favorite movies.
Yeah.
Or remakes or whatever. And I know you're not too familiar with it, but in the movie, basically these aliens called the Overlords, they come to Earth. They're here for like 100 years, but they don't just like take over. It's kind of a peaceful takeover of the Earth. And to do so, they sort of start changing children and their minds and how they operate. And so they have a whole program where they're basically programming a generation. It's called the last generation of children to sort of usher in the coming of the overlords, or the slow, peaceful takeover, so to speak. And I don't know, there's something familiar in that story with this story of children mobilizing, for a certain cause that seems it's sort of out of their full understanding, but they're, it's just very, very interesting. I don't know. I saw a little connection there because children are a very big theme in Childhoods, and to see these teenagers being inspired by anime to actually mobilize to some extent, whether the motives are exactly what is being reported on CNN or not, I don't know.
Right.
But it's just
we would never know. Yeah. I mean, we're never going to know exactly what it is. Just a couple more details. In the Ukrainian capital, police said the instigators of, quote, the subculture that came from Russia were two teenagers, a girl aged 15 who had created a Telegram channel, and a 14-year-old boy who had organized a, quote, conflict meeting. In an interview posted by police, the girl said the group was, quote, just for hype. I also want to say there is no Raydan in Kyiv. Like the teenager in Dnipro, she added that the Raydan fad was, quote, straight up Russian propaganda. I asked that you not believe such information and focus on caring about our guys who are now fighting. Vasyl Bodan, head of the Juvenile Prevention Department of National Police, said a total of more than 700 people had been summoned to police stations, most of them minors. Bodan said the force was appealing to parents to, quote, show interest in who their children communicate with. It seems likely that now police in both Russia and Ukraine are moving against Raydanists. The fad will fade, but it's the sudden emergence on both sides of the border may speak as much to teenage boredom and the power of social media channels as to any cunning destabilization plan.
Wait, hold on. Something came to me just now.
Okay.
Remember how I said that, they're going to ban TikTok and it's going to create like this uprising of teenagers or just young people in general? Imagine if they do like an 18 and over restriction or something on TikTok, like something to kind of restrict it. And these teenagers, because they create their own network state movement or something.
Yeah.
And it's all going to be inspired by pop culture. So it's going to be like probably anime, but this article continues to talk about these teenagers, this teenage gang inspired by anime as destabilizing. Yeah. And that's something they know. I mean, they want to do that they have been doing it in the United States, but in terms of actually mobilizing youth in this country, what could do it? TikTok, man. I'm just saying.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's another example. I mean, this is a great example. Now, of course, this isn't a perfect manifestation of what we can see in the future, but it's an interesting example about how a network state or a subculture can be both the enemy of Ukraine and Russia. Now, Ukraine and Russia blame it on each other because that's helpful in the current paradigm. But really what you had here, and it was sort of admitted to in the article, was that basically these teenagers came together, created their own network state, and sure, maybe was there some... or could there have been some, encouragement from the Kremlin to try to cause trouble in Ukraine? It's totally possible. I mean, is it destabilizing? Yes, but it's destabilizing to both Russia and Ukraine. It's a third thing. It's almost a third fighting force. In this case, happen to be teenagers who like anime. And it's a good example of how the network state, not only is it sort of challenging to our ideas of citizenship now, but it's challenging to the system as a whole. The two geopolitical states of Russia and Ukraine were being destabilized by a network state. The network state idea is destabilizing to the current sort of setup to how society even works right now.
Yeah, the current infrastructure.
It changes the entire infrastructure because these kids would probably identify more with each other as Radinists than they would identify as Ukrainians or Russians or anything. It's a third entity involved.
This is how the cybernetic age and all the dystopian movies that have these sort of mainstream faction, but then also has the large underground. It kind of feels like that's what's happening here. Anything else on that?
No.
Okay. Well, we're a little short on time here. We went long on some of the stuff, but I think it's worth mentioning. I was going to do, maybe we save the neo-Nazi thing, the satanic neo-Nazi thing. Let me just play this clip from something called Cult DAO to wrap up this segment. I know we didn't have it in the show notes, but it was a potential thing because speaking about the network state, this is another example of what kinds of, projects or something destabilizing technologies can bring. This is at ETH Denver, which is a cryptocurrency conference for the cryptocurrency Ethereum. A lot of cringe videos, a lot of people dancing and singing weird songs, and it's weird, man. It's a weird place. And this is more proof of how weird it is. This is a little feature on Cult DAO.
So we are Cult DAO, and what we are essentially we are a venture capital DAO that invests in revolutionary projects that want to break the machine.
And by the way, there's a couple people interviewed here. There's 3 people sitting, 2 dudes on either side with 1 lady in the middle. The lady doesn't have a mask on, but the 2 dudes have like a creepy mask. It's not the anonymous mask or the Guy Fawkes mask. It's more of a emotionless white mask with a beard guy. So it's like the Cult DAO logo. But so just for those of you just listening, so you can kind of picture, you can kind of hear the mask on them when they talk.
DAO that invests in revolutionary projects that want to break the machine.
So the interesting thing with Cult DAO is because it has such a big, passionate community, we have this really large network effect. And so whenever we invest in other projects or communicate with other DAOs, it helps with their social engagement and awareness.
If you read the Cult DAO manifesto, really there's this meta-emphasis on bridging political differences, bridging past ideologies which tend to fracture not just crypto, but Web3 and the world in general.
DAOs are definitely going to be the future of business. We're moving away from the corporate infrastructure. There's no one top person in charge. It's up to everybody to make a difference. It's up to everybody to take action. And that's what DAOs are about.
There's no person at the top, which is, if you go watch Age of Deceit 3, we present that idea of how the system is the authority, not so much an individual that we're looking for. Of course, there will be 10 kings, in my opinion, but an interesting project, wouldn't you say, Basil, to say the least?
Indeed. And yeah, I mean, it's just another example of the sort of destabilization of the status quo in this case in sort of a corporate way, but in the same way, that is kind of how the network state does and will work.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of the thing is anybody can spin up a network state. Not all of them are going to take. Majority are going to die, but there will be some who are humongous, and that's why we're entering sort of a cyber hive era. So There you go. Hey, fun. Hey, we're entering the not the pandemic yet, but the cyber, cyber world where value for value is more valuable than corporate cash.
Welcome to the Canary Cry Cyber State.
Did you just say welcome to the Canary Cry Cyber State?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
This is break. Don't just consume the content, but become the content. Become the content.
Yes. Become the content here at the Canary Cry Network State. We just want to briefly thank our producers who come in with their talent, their God-given talent. If you get value out of this show, provide value back by multiple ways. You can use your time, talent, or treasure. We're going to thank our producers who come in with their talent here. Those of you who help build the culture behind the community here at Canary Cry News Talk. And we're going to start off with, I believe, a speak pipe. Yes.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message.
Go to canarycrynewstalk.com. Any of the pages that we have there, look for a green tab on the right side. It will open up a pop-up that will allow you to record a message of up to 90 seconds. Or if you're a hacker like Modern Day Bible Study, somehow just a longer message than a minute 30, which is something that we will experience now because we have a message from Modern Day Bible Study.
Don't watch the clock. Tick tock. Searching for videos with your block. Time ticks away quickly when the scrolling never stops. Made to tempt the eyes, giving you what pops. AI is a permanent sponge that wants to collect your thoughts, to understand how you work, to cause you to feed from its trough. Pleasing the animalistic mind so IT can be on top. Since the creation wanted to outdo the creator, hope many of us are safe from its stock. Casting lots to see the next one that's hot. Putting makeup on a swine still makes it so. Filled with demons that are lower than you thought. While the animal farm installed with its insect city who's loaded with the shot. A digital warfare to be controlled behind the scenes and be seen not. Double-click, attention, tyrant, algorithm, putting you in the system with every type you threw in the pot. Hold fast, or it's not only your face that they're after. Wanting your trust, your love, your dependency, ... For your true God to be forgot? Is this your new God? Can you go one day without it? Be aware of the time spent in your daily trot. Don't watch the clock. Tick tock. Bringing you extra energy with Basil and Gons. And remember, think outside the cage.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Modern Day Bible Study.
Get some production going on there.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right. Let's do some audio production.
Audio production.
All right. We have something from Little Owen. And here's a note here. Gons, when you shared at top of show a few days back about getting down, I just wanted to encourage you in the Lord. Oh, thank you very much, Little Owen. You too, Basil. Thanks for all y'all do, and may the Lord give you strength to keep going. Don't give up. Thank you very much, Little Owen. And he has this track here that he sent in. Oh, what happened to it? Oh, here we go. It's called Don't Give Up.
Sleep at the juniper tree. The journey's too great. The angel of the Lord has food indeed. Yeah, yeah.
I like it. I like the vibes.
Vibey.
Yeah, we'll play the whole track. It's about 2 minutes long at the end of the show during the
awesome
the mix at the end. Thank you very much, Lil Owen. Appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy.
Appreciate the encouraging words. Definitely use them. All right, let's do some art.
One art, please.
We are going to start with Sir Dove, Knight of Rospeltia.
One art piece from Dove.
He sends a word message, also called a note, along with the art. He says, "Peace. For this week's Bible artwork, I did an illustration for Psalm 69:14. Rescue me from the mire, and do not let me sink. Deliver me from my foes and out of the deep waters." Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for you. And it's Dove. Thank you, Dove.
All right. Yes, thank you, Sir Dove. We've got a picture of a cityscape kind of across a river, sort of gray and looking. We've got a boat that's half sunk. Somebody had a bad day there up in the foreground. And in the background above the city, it says, "Do not let me sink." And down in the water, it says, "Deliver me out of the deep waters." And the boat that is sinking has some cute little googly eyes there.
Yep, very nice. Thank you very much, Sir Dove. Always coming in with great material here. All right, we also have one from Sir Salmon's Knight of the Fishes. Oh boy, this one, I gotta tell you. All right, he has a note here. "Happy Monday, y'all." Thank you very much. "Hope Gons hasn't frozen solid." Nope, still thawed. "And Basil hasn't lost all electricity and been sent to the Shadow Realm."
Oh no, we're cranking still, baby.
Good. "For this week's art, I was inspired by a dream Gons had during his fevered COVID bout a few weeks ago. In the dream, he had to defend himself against a slew of foes with nothing but a rusty katana. The most formidable of his opponents was an acrobatic Viking woman wielding a huge sword. Perhaps he was given a vision of a past battle between Basil's Viking ancestors and his samurai ancestors. Hope you guys hope you guys enjoy. Many blessings from the fishes."
Yeah, this is great. Sir Salmon's was really incredible. Those art classes are working. I got to start taking art classes wherever you're taking them. Very cool sort of comic style thing. We've got a very low perspective on Gons the samurai with his red samurai armor, his rusty katana hanging at his side there. You've got a cross at the top of the helmet, and up from the sky, the cloudy sky with dark and red clouds, comes a dive-bombing Viking woman with a gigantic sword. Seemingly about to strike Gons down.
This is, I gotta say, it's pretty close to what I saw in the dream.
Pretty close to the dream?
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, this is incredible. Very cool.
It's
Thank you.
Creeping me
Sir
out
Salmons.
a little bit. Is Sir Salmon's plugged into the dreamscape technology or something? Is he
might be
getting electrical signals from my brain to show images of dreams? And
I will remind everybody that the art for every show gets sent out with the newsletter as well. So if you want to take a look at it, you can just check your inbox. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, go to canarycry.party. Sign up there.
Yep. So thank you very much, Sir Salmons, for making my nightmares come to life, I guess. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. All right, we also have something from Ginger B, and let me display the piece here before reading the notes. Guess what? I, quote unquote, rattled my husband's cage. Yay, that's fantastic. Great job. Thanks to the Basil Eggman I created.
Oh, yeah.
Now I have mentioned CCNT on several occasions, but he's tuned out each time. This time, however, I was talking about making something to get the cages rattling. He was like, "What are you talking about?" So I pointed to my little Eggman bee and go into greater detail of the show. He decided to give CCNT a listen. We shared a few good laughs. Now, as he's traveling for work, he has been telling his friends about the show. And had them give a listen, hopefully helping more canaries find their way to the Canary verse and out of the machine. Ooh, two references to the machine today. The cult Dow and then the Ginger Bee, the Canary. So the pressure is on to make us all look good, Eggman and Gonzo. Please read the awful mainstream news and help disenchanted and help disenchanted us once more today. Ginger B. Thank you very much, Ginger B.
Yeah. And Ginger B sent a picture in of the Basil Eggman. We remember during craft time, she created a sort of disembodied virtual reality headset with big googly eyes, a canary feather popping off it, with a sort of a pink body with a puffin on it. And she put it on the dashboard of her car, and it has a little speech bubble. It says "Canary Cry News Talk, baby."
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ginger B. That's really cool. I mean, who knew that just one rogue crafting session could have such an impact? We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, it says here that her husband's name is Andrew. So thank you, Andrew, for checking it out.
Shout out to Andrew. What's up, dude?
Appreciate you tuning in. But also, at a certain point, there will be a threshold by which you would become a mooch. I don't know if you're there yet, but just telling you the road ahead.
It's kind of like salvation, If
whoa, easy,
member of the
easy
family,
there, Trump, Mr. I am retribution.
If one member of the family can demooch the whole family.
I see. Okay, all right, I like that. All right, that makes Andrew immune then. So
yes, Andrew is welcome to mooch as long as he wants.
Right.
He is saved from mooching by his faithful wife.
He's only indebted to his wife Ginger.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, thank you very much, Ginger B and Andrew. Appreciate you guys. We're gonna move on here. We have something from Sadie, who is the daughter of Lousy Petunia. One Lousy Petunia, that is, to be more specific. And I'll show the piece here and the note. My kiddos love our Canary Cry calendar. They check it out every day. Today is World Compliment Day. And so, we had World Compliment Day.
It's been back Wednesday.
Last week.
Wednesday.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, fantastic art.
Yeah, I love it. It's Sadie did a wonderful job. Looks like a pencil drawing of Basil and Gons. She stuck a couple googly eyes on the Basil character there. It says Canary Cry, and Basil and Gons are appropriately labeled as well. So that's very good.
Yeah. I am a little jealous.
Sadie.
I'm a little jealous.
Why? Because I have some multimedia
you have 3-dimensional aspects. I am still 2-dimensional.
Yeah,
it's okay. Well, I will happily stay 2-dimensional.
It's a good one. She's got your hat. She's got your beard. It's all good.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Great job, Sadie.
Good job, Sadie. Appreciate you. Okay. I think that's it for the art. We do have a couple microfiction.
Yep.
Microfiction. Microfiction.
The first one is from Runk Smash. And music shall commence. Right, music player? All right, hold on. It was not turned on correctly. Let's start again. This one is from Runk Smash.
Mike makes it to the embankment and finds an ornate door. He enters with confidence, being wise enough to know not to expect anything. Inside, he finds a lobby staffed by a purple woman in a large mouse bellhop wearing Jinko jeans made of synth skin.
Oh, gosh. When worlds collide.
Haven't we? I think we've seen this this lobby before with the purple lady and the large mouse bellhop wearing Jinko jeans. Yeah, might have to go back into the database to remember where this popped up again.
I love how
Thank you
everyone,
very much, Runk Smash.
Thank you, Runk Smash. I love how everyone has these network states of data, like siloed data centers. The Canaryverse data consists of a lot of microfictions with, 100 years from now, they're going to be like, what were they talking about? What mystery?
It's the oral history of the Canarium.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Runk Smash.
Thank you very much, Runk Smash.
We also have one from Stephen S.
General, we have a situation with that UAP we shot down. What now? The UAP was an Eco-Warriors balloon with a payload of hydrogen sulfide. It derailed a train with tankers of ammonia reacting as ammonium sulfide, sir. It stinks to high heaven.
So we're connecting some dots.
Yeah, there's a link here. It's a thoughtco.com, which is an easy stink bomb recipe.
Yes, how to make stink bombs.
Stink bomb.
Sure. Is this illegal? Are we going to get in trouble for this?
I don't think stink bombs are illegal, but
I know it's not illegal, but if you use it somewhere,
could be seen as sort of a anarchist cookbook type of entry.
Yeah, well, I have memory of Obama talking. Well, now you just go on the internet, make a bomb,
right?
You know, so
make a bomb. Yeah.
So all right, you got that, and then there's
Thank
another.
you very much, Stephan S.
He had a second article, which was the Aviation Week about the Hobby Club. We talked about it, the balloon getting shot down. So he's putting two and two together there. So,
right.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much to Stephan S. for your microfiction. And that does it for our producers coming in with their talent. Thank you to all of you.
That's right. And if you're a creative person out there and you want to produce the show, we need you. We are calling upon you. Create something for the show and send it on in. You can go to canarycry.art. Canarycry.art is our upload portal that will go directly into our very organized back end. That's the best way to get your stuff on the show. Canarycry.art. Go now. Go forth. Create and become the content.
Become the content. All right. To wrap the show, we got lasers. And a Nephilim update, but let's do the laser part first.
Okay.
So this is Pop Mechanics, popularmechanics.com. Headline, a scientist says time travel is possible with ring lasers. Is that like the Ring doorbell? Now it has lasers and it can time travel? Nothing? Okay.
I don't know. You tell me.
All right.
You wrote the article.
I wrote the article? No.
Did you read it?
I read it. Ronald Mallett loves the concept of time travel. Who doesn't?
Ronald.
He has since he was a kid. Thank you. At 77, the former University of Connecticut physics professor still isn't backing down from his theory. A spinning laser loop can bend time in an ongoing way. With his story chronicled anew by The Guardian, Mallett says his concept of creating an artificial black hole, which could muster a gravitational field that might lead loops of time being created, allowing you to go to the past, comes in the form of his ring laser. The prototype, which has been running since 2019, can create a continuous rotating beam of light. Mallett says the, quote, light can create gravity, and if gravity can affect time, then light itself can affect time. Quote, let's say you have a cup of coffee in front of you right now, he explains to The Guardian. Quote, start stirring the coffee with a spoon. It starts swirling around, right? That's what a rotating black hole does. In Einstein's theory, space and time relate to each other. That is why it's called space-time. So as the black hole is rotating, it's actually going to cause a twisting of time, end quote. And you've got to start that twisting concept somewhere. Quote, the Wright brothers didn't just build the plane, he said a couple of years ago. First, they actually built a wind tunnel to determine the best configuration for aircraft wings. When it comes to a time machine, we need to build the wind tunnel before we can think about building the plane.
Whoa, bro.
It's blowing my mind. So Mallett made his prototype machine. It sounds like you are Mallett. Are you Mallett?
It's starting to sound familiar.
Are you, what's this guy's name? 77-year-old Ronald Mallett?
You caught me. I am 77-year-old Ronald Mallett.
Makes a lot more sense with your bidets and all that. So Mallett made his prototype machine. He thinks it could work. Sounds like the 100th episode of Canary Cry News Talk, or radio. But it hasn't yet. And if it does, it doesn't have the infinite ability to go as far back as he'd like. Instead, he says the dip back in time can only go for as far back as when the loop was created. Think 2019. Hey, that's a good year to go back to, right before the pandy.
Yeah,
imagine
great.
selling
So we can
some
always,
stock. You can really
always
make a
time
killing.
travel back to right before. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, it could be worse. You could make some moves in the market that are that, for instance, Nancy Pelosi knew about beforehand.
I think this Malik guy has been selling his technology to a lot of insiders.
It's possible.
He's still hopeful, though. Quote, let's suppose that we already had this device going on some years ago, and now we have the medicines that can cure COVID, he says. Oh, he brings it up. Imagine if we can predict precisely when earthquakes are going to occur or tsunamis. For me, I've opened the door to the possibility. He's done it. He's done it, Basil. He's opened the door to time travel. Who would have thought? It's just lasers going in circles. That's all you needed to do it. And you have a theory. You have a Nephilim theory to go with this.
Yeah, spinning lasers, huh? That's creating the time travel portal.
But the wormhole, the whirlwind, perhaps, was just a spinning laser, a tornado laser.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like something. I don't know if it's reasonable, but it's something. That's what matters. Yeah. We had this other story. It's kind of a little Nephilim update here.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
Wow. Yeah, this is coming from The Guardian, and I think some questions might get answered here. Giant Jurassic-era insect rediscovered outside Walmart in Arkansas.
Oh, good. That's a good place.
So a giant Jurassic-era insect missing from eastern North America for at least a half a century has been spotted clinging to the side of a Walmart big box in Arkansas. The identification of the giant lacewing Polystocotes punctata in an urban area of Fayetteville, Arkansas, sent scientists into rapture.
Oh, no. Scientists got raptured? This is crazy.
They're so excited about this moth that sent them into raptures. The discovery of a species that was abundant in the age of the dinosaurs, but which was thought to have disappeared from large swaths of North America, has stoked speculation that there may be entire populations tucked away in remote parts of the Ozark Mountains, or they have been coming through a spinning laser time portal by Mr. What's-His-Face.
Wait, hold on, though. These are Jurassic. They're calling it Jurassic-era insects that only went missing, quote-unquote, 50 years ago?
Yeah, maybe.
So how come they didn't evolve? How did they survive the star exploding, killing all the dinos?
That's a really good question. Not a question for me. Maybe we'll have to take a trip in the laser portal to go ask somebody smarter than us. Quote, I remember it vividly because I was walking into Walmart to get milk and I saw this huge insect on the side of the building, Skvarla said. Quote, I thought it looked interesting, so I put it in my hand.
Oh, it sounds like the beginning of a horrible or maybe an excellent superhero movie. This is how he becomes Jurassic-era Mothman.
Yeah, gigantic dinosaur moth, and I thought it looked interesting, so I put it in my hand.
This is Mothman.
Did the rest of my listen to this, and did the rest of my shopping with it between my fingers.
Oh my gosh,
Walmart! Come on, you can't let people just walk in with ancient moths in their clutches. I got home, mounted it, and promptly forgot about it for almost a decade.
Wait a minute. This took place 10 years ago?
Crazy moth serial killer kidnapped a moth, walked around with it in public, brought it home, mounted it. This is like Buffalo Bill.
Why is he mounting it? That is very bizarre.
Forgot about it for a decade. In a co-authored paper recently published in the Proceedings of Entomological Society of Washington, Skvarla said that the specimen was incorrectly labeled in his personal collection as an antlion, an insect with similar features. The correct designation of the lacewing had to wait until late 2020 when Skvarla was teaching a Zoom class on biodiversity during the COVID lockdowns. See, if we went back and stopped COVID, we would never know the correct categorization of this dinosaur moth. As teacher and students stared down at microscopic images, they realized the specimen had been wrongly labeled. Quote, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this incredible new record pops up. Louis Nastasi, a member of the class, told Adrian Berard, author of the Penn State Report, the giant lacewing was once abundant across North America, but was assumed to have been obliterated from eastern regions by the 1950s. Yeah, interesting. It has been portrayed as resembling a cross between a fly and a moth.
Uh-oh, I lost you for a second.
Like the body. Oh, I guess you'll never know what this... You'll have to listen to the RSS feed to hear exactly what this moth looks like. The causes of the apparent disappearance of the insect have long been a mystery. Possible explanations include light pollution through urbanization and introduction of non-native species such as ground beetles that prey on the lacewing or earthworms, which can change the consistency of soil. Okay, sure. Suppression of forest fires in the eastern region may also play a part, as giant lacewings depend on post-fire ecosystems. You have time-traveling moth. It's the only way to explain this giant Jurassic era insect rediscovered outside Walmart in Arkansas.
I'll tell you this. You know the whole Mothman conspiracy?
Yes.
The humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area. That report, or at least, in culture, was between November 15th, 1966 and December 15th, 1967. So that happened. So 1950s, they're saying 1950s is when the moths disappeared, right? Allegedly, they just disappeared. And all of a sudden, we get 10, 15 years later, we get the Mothman reports. And then now, quiet for nearly 50 years. 50 years from 1966 is 2016, right?
Yeah, sure.
No, wait. Is 2006? Oh, why am I having a brain?
50 years or so? What are you saying?
50, 60? Yeah. 50 from 1966 is 2016. Okay. Yeah. So 2016, okay, maybe. But this guy had it from when? 2013 is when he had it? So 10 years, he forgot about it? Oh, no, 10 years from 2020, so 2010. Oh my gosh, this is getting crazy.
You're losing me.
Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Point is...
Doesn't matter, is this
modern Mothman went through the portal.
Yeah, this laser time traveling portal booted up and is small, but not too small. And this moth came through from the 1950s. He's our answer to time travel. And also, is it possible for someone to catch a moth in their hands, carry it around in their hand through Walmart, and bring it home and do crazy, dark Buffalo Bill style mounting of the moth? The answer is yes. And that's what's wrong with this society. And time travel proves it. And it proves time travel. I rest my case, everybody. This has been another episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Thank you for tuning in. And anything else before I start thanking people?
Yeah, real quick. You are probably not familiar with the show called Miraculous.
No, you're correct.
Yeah, so it's like a French show. They have a lot of anime influence, but it's a show about I forget what they're called. Each character has the main character is a ladybug type of. Okay, they're regular humans, but they have these little things that give them power, and they all have different themes. So you have the main character has a ladybug theme, so she's called Ladybug, and the co-star or whatever, he's a cat boy. Cat Noir is his name, and the villain of this whole thing is called Hawkmoth, and his they're called Miraculouses, these little things. His miraculous thing is it's basically a moth. So maybe he came through the portal. I'm just saying.
Okay, good. I'm glad we got there. Yeah. I'm glad we got there. It was worth the wait of learning about this.
And people in the chat will know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I bet they will.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you to all the producers, the executive producers, the T-shirt council, the supply droppers, everybody. The artists, of course. Make sure to consider how much value is this show bringing to your life. maybe focus on sort of the whole body of work if this episode didn't do it for you. But yes, and consider producing the show. And, it's not just art, it's not just financially, but there are ways that you can produce the show by helping out with a bunch of our back-end stuff. That's right. So much of this show relies on producers putting value in. And an example of such producers are the Clippies.
Yes, sir.
Flippy. Flippy on those videos. Thanks.
That's right. The Clippies clip the show. They manage the Canary Cry Clips channel. It's filled with segments of every episode. It's also got more some shorter clips that you can share in your social media. Go check it out on YouTube and Odyssey, Canary Cry Clips. And thank you to Emsworth and Faye Liverin for making it happen. And that's possible because of the timestampers.
Oh, I think I made a mistake with the timestampers a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Trying to
Would you
figure
like to
out.
correct the
Yeah,
mistake?
I think what I did on accident was I put in. Yeah, Christine C did the timestamps for episode 597. So thank you to Christine
Thank you very
C.
much, Christine C, for your
you.
hard work.
I am probably confusing whoever's supposed to do timestamps today because I accidentally cut and pasted the archive of the last episode in here as well instead of the normal, stuff that you're supposed to do with it.
That probably is really confusing.
That's probably very confusing. Let me fix that right now, and hopefully that.
But,
actually, it looks like it's looking okay. So, all right, sorry about that.
It's pretty impressive that the timestampers are able to do their jobs when so much of it relies on us and us not messing up. So thank you very much to all the timestampers, but especially Christine C.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you to the social media gal.
The social media consultant.
Thanks so much. Social media, follow us.
Dame Miss G, the Ovi, and the Deep Rivers, making sure the art gets up on the social media. We appreciate it very much. And you should go to canarycrymeetups.com.
Canary Cry Meetups.
That's right, meetups, folks. It's where you get together with other human beings who enjoy the show. It's a wonderful time. We can connect face-to-face with other people who listen to the same podcast as you. And as we always say, listening to the same podcast as someone is a pretty good chance that you have some other things in common as well. So go to canarycrymeetups.com. You'll see, the Alaska meetup is coming up on March 11th. Missouri
Saturday.
meetup, March 11th.
Saturday.
Germany meetup, March 11th.
Saturday.
St. Augustine, Florida meetup coming up next month. If you're in any of these places, go ahead, go to canarycrymeetups.com. You'll see contact information. Just send a little ping to the host. Let them know that you're interested and you want to go. Because the meetups, this is the future, man. This is the future. You want to connect with do you sense that hard times are ahead, that the society is going to collapse, and you'll soon live in sort of tribes of network states.
Cyber hives.
Yeah, cyber hives. I don't know if that's your thing. Go check it out. Find a meetup in your area. Go to it. Have fun. And let us know how it went. Or if there's not one in your area, put one on yourself. Just pick a time, pick a place, and send us an email. We'll put it up there for you, and Canarians in your area will flock together, and it'll be a jolly good time.
This is fun!
See you at the meetup.
Another way you can help us out. Right, leaving us ratings and reviews is super helpful. It's kind of like a network state. It's kind of like a meetup, but without the people. But the people are there, but they're not face to face. It's more like you're telling somebody a good thing about the show, but it's like online. Go to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a review for the show. It's super helpful. It is a huge part of how shows like ours, make it into other people's feeds, get suggested, or if people just find it, they want to see the rating, they want to read what might be in the thing, what to expect. It's just there's so much of it, and Gons and I have no ability to benefit ourselves in this way. It is all up to the raters and the reviewers. And once you become one of them, go to Apple Podcasts, search for Canary Cry News Talk. Most of you are listening to this show right now on Apple Podcasts, and leaving your rating and review will change not only your life, not only my life, but the lives of people who find the show. It really does work. If we get 5 or more a week, you can see it in the numbers. It's bunches of people, hundreds of people, new people find the show, and it's just very helpful, not only to us but to the world. I'm looking here. It looks like, let's see, the last rating and review is on the 28th of February, which is great.
That's not what I see. I see one from March 4th.
That's weird. Oh, okay. Well, it must not be showing up on the back end then. So is there one? Oh, yeah. I'm looking on your screen. There's a couple more. Okay. Yeah. That's great. Well, we'll read these on Friday. It's the best way to worm your way into our hearts and receive our affection is leaving ratings and reviews. It's very easy to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other than that, thanks to Jam for the links. Let's see. Who sent in some links over at canarycry.report?
Yeah, so I believe this list here that I have is the most... Oh, you know what? Yeah, we have Lacey H., Sleep Maximalist, UK James, Marvin, Caleb, and Meg. Thank you for submitting articles to canarycry.report.
Good job, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people want to send us articles to look at, and they email us, and it gets lost in the email, or it doesn't get opened or something. The best way to send us a story that you want us to take a look at and consider to go on the show is by going to canarycry.report. canarycry.report, fill out the form, and that goes into a very organized, easy-to-access backend for us that we check before every show. So thank you to everybody who's been doing that. canarycry.report.
Yep,
thank you to Flankanifius for the assistance. Other than that, just share the show. Share the show, folks. Just let your people know. Be like Ginger B. That's the problem with the world today. Not enough people are like Ginger B. Hey, you got a moment? You're doing crafts with kids? Do a craft, make a craft, get all that weird little crafty supplies together, get some loose feathers, some paper cups, some toilet paper rolls, whatever you want, glitter, get some glitter together, just get the whole dang closet out, start doing some crafts, create something for the show. Not only do you need to send that in, but here's the thing, the world loves crafts. Millennials, ever heard of them? Yeah, they're starting to gain some power in this world, and soon they will be ruling us all. And you know what millennials' greatest weakness is? Arts and crafts. That's right. So the best way to bring Canary Cry News Talk to a whole generation of power brokers, politicians, corporate vampires is by creating crafts and arts and crafts, and then making sure that it's on public display. Put it on the dashboard of your car, put it on top of public restrooms, go to the grocery store and start putting googly eyes on oranges. This is going to create a momentum, a snowball effect that will soon take over the hearts and minds of all millennials across the world through their sort of abhorrent love of arts and crafts. But you'll be doing the world a favor, because this will lead them straight to Canary Cry News Talk, their new favorite podcast that will give them a safe space, because you know millennials love that, to realize that the corporate news media does not have their best interests at heart. That's just one way to do it. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it any way you want. But all you got to do is walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages.
Stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. All right, Gons, any last words?
Friday, 600.
Oh, yeah. Episode 600 on Friday. We will be doing the episode 600. No, we're not. We do that on the 666. Okay. Well, we will be making the knighthood or damehood payment plan available. But feel free to produce the show on episode 600. That's a big milestone.
Big milestone.
For some, yeah. It feels bigger than 500. I mean, it is by exactly 100. But, you're kind of on your way to 1,000 now, which is crazy.
Well, the other thing is after Friday, the 10th, next week on the 15th will officially be 11 years of Canary Cry radio podcasting. So,
wow.
Long time, my friend.
Just keep getting older. Okay, so we're hitting 600, and we're having our 11th anniversary coming up here.
Yep.
We've never had a fight. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
This is the way.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Wives in the cosmos, children in the
space lane.
I'm an adult in a spaceship.
Supersonic space lane. Screamed to life and the vehicle swooped upward. On board, the passengers experienced a 3 G's of force and the burst of extreme acceleration and watched the blue sky fade into space.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Oh, yeah.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Yes. Do it, Richard. Do it, Jeff. Do it for humanity.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship.
He can accomplish it. You can too. Big windows, cool. Rocket ship, cool. Space plane, cool.
Nukes,
cool.
Blowing stuff up,
cool. Space plane, astronaut, rocket ship.
Previous anchor.
We have Bezos. He's a human. Just look at him. Go to the bathroom in bags. He can go to the bathroom in the cosmos. It changed everything.
We're all gonna die.
Wives in space, children in the cosmos, with your best friend brother. Wives in the cosmos, children in the space lane.
We are headed to space.
Armageddon's on the way.
Don't give up, Elijah. Don't sleep at the juniper tree. The journey's too great. The angel of the Lord has food indeed. Yeah, yeah. In 2 Kings, Elisha said, take the arrows, strike them on the ground, but don't give up at 3, just keep hitting NBC. Jesus left to Philadelphia. You have a little strength. That's all you're gonna need. Yeah. So don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pressing on, you see.
time and make you pay.
And then the final scale is Trump going to have babies with a goblin and actually help the New World Order and turn against us like Darth Vader. I am not the villain in this story. I do what I do because there is no choice. Out of the sewer, literal vampire pot-bellied goblins are hobbling around coming after us.
It will chill.
Pot-bellied goblins. Pot-bellied goblins.
Goodbye, everybody. And that's the end. And everyone says, oh, that was fun. Bye, 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 bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support. I will say one thing, though. I love Canary Cry News Talk. It's got everything. It's the best podcast. I think Outside the Cage. You know what I mean? Hit the subscribe button. It's not fake news. Not at all.